Good Wednesday evening. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I hope everybody is having a fantastic midweek. It's hump day right now. And Mazza Media and I had a fantastic show the other night, and we talked about the crash daddies. But tonight we're going to talk about, yes, the crash dummy, and that is Trooper Paul. And we wanted to make just the bigger point here of the the credentials and the the expertise of ARCA versus what the Commonwealth has been going with. I mean, this is their guy. This is the blue shirt side that we're going to talk about. We're going to get into that tonight. And this is, I can't believe this is what they roll with, but we're going to watch the cross-examination from Alan Jackson tonight to Trooper Paul. And again, I can't do this without the one and only Mark Mazza Media. Hello, sir. How are you?
What's going on, Brian? Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. I'm very excited to be here once again.
We had to do part two, right? We had to do part two. We did the crash daddies. We're going to do the crash dummy tonight and debunk some of this, the crap that the Commonwealth is essentially thrown against the wall and see if something sticks here, right?
That's exactly right. Oh, exactly. And I just want to make a quick announcement, Brian, if I may, just regarding tomorrow. Just to remind everybody that there's a standout in Quincy tomorrow. It's the Michael Morrissey's fundraiser corruption funding protest that's going to be going on tomorrow. It's at the Terrell Room at 254 Corey Street in Quincy, Massachusetts. That's tomorrow, starting at 4 p.m. There's a soccer field nearby that has about 40 spots. It's recommended that you, if you can, you have a couple of people that maybe carpool with them. We're planning to arrive at 4, and his fundraiser starts at 5:30. And we just want to make sure that there's plenty of signs out there to kind of, say hello to them and greet them as they come in and send a message. I believe there might be some members of the media that may actually be there tomorrow that are covering this. So that's 4 o'clock tomorrow. I see Scott's going to be there at 3. And I'm still determining if I'm going to go. I got a half day tomorrow from work, so I'm working on it. But I think I might end up showing up there tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have to work late, so unfortunately I won't be able to make it to that one. But yes, thank you for sharing. If you all can get out there and you're local, we need the support. So let's not waste too much time here. I know Maz is limited. He does have a hard cut at 8 p.m. tonight, and I appreciate you being here kind of last minute. We threw this one out there. So we're going to try to get through the best that we can, but I will continue and finish the whole cross-examination if Maz can't be here. I just want to let everybody know, first-time viewers and watchers, this is a live show. We stop, we interact with the audience. I will read super chats, I will read donations, or if we find a valid point in the chat room, we'll bring that up and discuss it as well. So here it is. That's why we call it Let's Talk Live. But without further ado, let's bring in the one and only Trooper Paul, and we're gonna go through this tonight and have some fun with this one. All right, Maz, here we go.
Ready.
Oh boy, can I get enough here?
Thank you, sir. I have no further
Silence the death.
Okay,
right?
cross-examination.
Thank you, Honor.
Oh boy.
So do you have any, do you hold any degrees in the scientific discipline of mathematics?
Nope.
I do not.
Do you hold any degrees in the scientific discipline of physics?
Nope.
I do not.
Hold
Oh,
any
that's big.
degrees in the scientific discipline of biomechanics?
No.
How about in engineering?
Nope.
No.
How about in kinematics?
No.
What's the highest
Voice
degree
crack.
that you do hold, sir?
I have an associate's degree.
In what?
Administration of justice.
You mentioned kinematics.
Okay, let's just stop here. Come on, Maz. Is Trooper Paul more qualified than the two ARCA guys? Let me have it.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not by any means. If he doesn't have a physics degree or any of those other degrees that he needs to be anybody that's a reputable source, he's basically just a state police officer that drew the short end of the stick. And guess what? You're our expert, buddy.
You're
Good
our
luck.
experts.
Not going to be me.
I agree. Chloe Albert's Revenge, I love it. $5 said, when they sent for a crash recon expert, he thought they meant crash test dummy. They both have 3 words. It's confusing, Brian. Brian, you took my joke. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. All right, here we go.
On Friday, do you hold any certificates in the specific area of kinematics?
Yes, it's covered in the basic crash investigation classes.
Okay, so you took a class, in other words, correct?
At multiple classes.
They introduced the idea of what kinematics is,
too.
right?
Correct.
You testified about that on Friday.
Yes.
Define kinematics.
Uh-oh.
It deals with the aspect of motion.
It's a
Welcome in,
subfield
everybody.
of what broader field?
Kinematics.
Kinematics is a subfield of what broader discipline of
Oh
science?
boy.
I'm not sure.
Big physics, correct?
Yes.
And it describes how points and objects and systems of objects, how they move and how the rate they move and the rate of their velocity, correct?
It deals with emotions.
What's that called? The rate of velocity. What's another word for that?
The rate of velocity.
Correct.
I mean, it deals with the motion.
Big
It
word.
deals with forward,
Big word.
and also deals with speed. It deals with travel and speed. If something's moving, it also has a speed to it.
Right. The word you're looking for is acceleration,
Acceleration.
correct?
Sure.
Sounds like a high school student that's in ninth
What
grade
role
being
does
questioned on
Poor
this.
guy.
acceleration play in the field of kinematics?
What role does acceleration play in
boy.
kinematics?
Correct.
It talks about, like you just said, it talks about the speed and talks about motion.
Is kinematics also known as the geometry of motion?
Oh boy.
Is that correct?
I have not heard that.
Never heard that. What's the difference between constrained and unconstrained motion?
Constrained and unconstrained motion.
That's what I asked.
You said to repeat everything back like it's a
Strain
spelling
motion.
bee.
Well, it's like Jen McCabe, the same thing.
Yeah.
She had to repeat everything back. And then
Yeah.
when Jen McCabe was up there, can you show me the document? That's
Yeah.
because so she could refresh her lies and make
Yeah.
sure that her lies don't get straight.
Right.
But it's so she could refresh and continue to lie.
I can't recollect at the moment.
Constrained motion is motion on a predetermined path, isn't it?
Oof.
Yes.
Unconstrained motion is what?
When it doesn't have a predetermined path.
Free movement, correct?
Correct.
Can you remember that from your class?
For the most part, we don't go that in depth, constrained and unconstrained.
Real quick, Chloe's revenge. $5. The Trooper Paul is the only expert who, when asked to sign off his work, frantically searches for the red crayon. I
Constrained,
love that.
unconstrained, not restrained.
That's what I said. Sorry, unconstrained.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Kinematics uses algebraic formula to model these motions, right? The motions of these points.
Chrissy
Systems
Mello.
of
This
points,
guy's an
correct?
expert. He's anything
Yes.
but looking like a fool. Hey,
Got it.
Chris,
And this
how are you?
includes concepts like displacement and speed, velocity, distance, acceleration, which I talked about, correct?
Correct.
And it looks at how these things, these values vary over a point in time or duration in time. Is that right? Do
Yes.
you actually understand the physics behind the study of kinematics?
Yes.
Or did you learn in class?
Peggy,
Yes.
good
We
one.
had to go over the physics part of it.
On Friday, you said that this incident is a pedestrian strike from a vehicle. You reiterated that again this morning. Is that right?
Correct.
I want to be clear. That is your opinion.
Yeah, I
based
was looking
on
for the
your
cat. Yeah.
Training and experience,
Figured.
correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And on Friday, you said you based that opinion on the fact that you noted a half-mile-an-hour decrease in speed and a steering input of less than 10 degrees at some point in that reverse motion, correct?
I said that was consistent. That data point in general was consistent with something that you would see within data of a pedestrian striker striking something else.
Clown
I
University.
did go on my report saying I can't say that's
Yeah.
definitively where a pedestrian was struck. But
I'm sorry, I can barely.
it wasn't definitively. Sorry, in my report, I do say I can't say that is definitively where the pedestrian struck.
You cannot say
Definitively.
Amy, thank you for the
Yes.
gift and membership. Appreciate
so you're
that.
going to have to slow down and speak up. Okay.
You just said, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, and I apologize.
Okay.
You said you cannot say definitively that that resulted in a pedestrian strike.
That data point within the text stream data is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That specific point, that time frame.
Because there's a multitude of reasons why when someone is driving in reverse, they might slow down by a half a mile an hour, right?
It's when I say when it's consistent, it's because there's the other aspects of it is the fact that the accelerator is consistently strong.
Let him answer. Finish your answer.
So the accelerator is consistent at a constant rate, and then it just drops by half a mile, and the steering wheel all of a sudden abruptly goes to the right. That's what I'm talking about when I say it is consistent with a pedestrian strike. That's something that you would see. It's not going to be a huge change of speed during this collision.
You also note that at the time, it had begun to snow, correct?
Yes.
There would be snow on the lawn, right?
Correct.
There would be snow on the cars,
Yes.
snow on the trees,
Yes.
snow on the roadway.
Yes.
Snow on the roadway could impact how tires move over the roadway, correct?
In a way.
And obviously, there are a multitude of reasons why.
Yeah, what do you think he's thinking here?
I don't
mean,
think he
seriously.
knows- Yeah, I don't think he knows as much about. I mean, not only does he lack the credentials, but I think he lacks a lot of not even lacks the knowledge, but I think the crime scene is so basically manipulated that he's trying to probably not only cover for not having a strong education in this field, but also at the same time possibly trying to keep a story straight at the same particular time. It's just that's the drift I'm getting. He does not seem very confident at all, unlike the ARCA experts, which were happy to talk about all kinds of things, and even Wolf even smiling about what cannon or whatever they built there.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
He's just like, well, I don't know, and yes, and it's like, why don't you show off that knowledge instead of acting like you don't know what you're talking about? You'd expect more out of someone that's supposed to be the guy from the state police. That's the be all end all when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's
I was gonna say, you think this guy feels like I'm screwed? I'm up against the wall here.
Oh, of course, yeah, no, 100% accurate, 100% accurate. Very well said. He doesn't have much confidence, and like I said, these people when they come on the stand, they seem all confident, and we saw this repeatedly throughout the trial, where people would be confident when Adam Lally was direct examining them, but then when they switched to cross examining, it was a total mood shift, and they, like a few of them got up there and they knew everything to say it, how to word it. They were very rehearsed. As soon as the defense attorneys got up there, it was, well, I don't know, or I don't recall, or
you need to look at the
I don't
document.
really know. Yeah. Oh yeah, constantly throughout this trial.
Matt McCabe and Jen McCabe always constantly having to look at the document. Can I look at the document? I'm gonna look at the document. Let's keep our story straight here.
Well, I can't tell you unless you show me.
Right, unless you show me. You remind me, please.
Input on a steering wheel.
Alan Jackson has more knowledge of this stuff about his job after 24 hours on a weekend binge of studying it than this guy does at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Going in reverse or forward and introduces a 10-degree input on the steering wheel, doesn't mean they're looking to hit a pedestrian, correct?
Correct.
You testified that you determined the area of impact by basically following, if I heard your testimony correctly, basically following the debris field from the body from where you believed John O'Keefe's body's final resting place was, almost linearly to the furthermost piece of debris that was found. Did I get that right?
Yes.
In other words, you established what in your mind, or what you were told was his final resting place, and what you were told was the debris field.
Yeah.
And you indicated that the furthermost piece of debris would basically be the area, right?
It's within that line. I didn't say that is the area impact where the furthermost piece of evidence is.
Right.
It's just the linear, like you said earlier, it's that linear. We're going that path. That's the path that he traveled post impact with the vehicle.
And that is on which that fact that you stated is on which it's a terrible question. That's the basis for your opinion of where the area of impact was, correct?
Yes.
Let's take a look at exhibit with the court's
Oh boy,
permission,
here they come.
587. It's your diagram 3. If I may approach you on it just for.
Okay.
Albert's Revenge, $5. AJ was some kind of army engineer. Bad luck for Super Paul. Yes, you are right. Aircraft engineer, mechanic.
May I
Yeah.
approach?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure Alan Jackson has, like you said, a pretty good idea of what he's talking about here.
Yeah, he seems to stifle him on some of the definitions of words.
Right.
Yes.
I'm sure he had some military classes and training
Yeah.
as a vet to our country. Oh gosh, these diagrams are just great, huh?
Sir, you see diagram 3 on the board. You also have it in front of you, correct?
Yes.
It's easier for you to refer to what's in front of you because that's a little bit further away. Just let me know.
Okay.
The red arrows adjacent to the blue writing, where I'm highlighting right now, indicate basically the debris field that you explained to the jurors on Friday, correct?
Yes.
And then there's a point of an arrow that comes back to a wording that says pedestrian's final rest, basically right there, correct?
Yes.
And the debris field ends right in the middle of that spotlight, correct?
Yes.
All right. So that's the area of impact that you indicated to Mr. Lally you believe occurred because of the debris field and the linear portion of that debris field going from the pedestrian's final rest all the way out to that final little red arrow that says red plastic B in parentheses, correct?
Yes.
Can you pause this for just a quick second? I just had a
because
thought
I have
occur
some
to me.
thought here too. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if the vehicle's on the road and she's driving in reverse and he's standing, let's just say, I can forget what the exact Commonwealth theory is now, but either he was on the road or slightly on the yard. Now let's just think about this for a second.
You're probably going right where I was going to go with
Yeah,
this.
if his arm gets
wait a
hit,
minute.
if his arm gets hit right here, right,
Right.
then his body, which is this side, is
Right.
facing towards the yard. So if his arm gets hit, then the taillight's going to go up and over his body and up and over his head to land, what, 5-10 feet on the yard? Why wouldn't it just land on the ground right on the concrete?
Well, that's we talked about this the other night during the
Yeah,
ARCA
yeah.
show.
Right.
And they essentially, the ARCA experts kind of concurred what you just said too. Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't the debris field just fall down? Why did it
Interesting.
spread so far out? And
Yeah.
looking at this final resting spot too, where that impact is versus where John supposedly landed, that's pretty damn far. I mean,
It is.
In my estimation, you'd probably have to be hit at least 50 miles an hour to probably land. I mean, you got to be wailing to land that far over there.
Yeah.
And why no, footprints or drag marks to, when you land over there? Why is there nothing like that?
Right. Exactly.
He just, like Alan Jackson gonna say, when you see at the end, he flew in the air. Really? I
Right.
mean, I don't know,
Come on.
Maz.
No.
Just doesn't
You
make
probably get hit. If it's like when you get pushed, if someone pushes you, a lot of times people
Yeah.
just fall.
Take
to
it
the
back
ground.
to martial arts. Someone hits you in the
Right, yeah.
shoulder.
If there's enough force, you just fall back on the ground,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing with the vehicle. You're going to get hit by a large vehicle in reverse at a rate of speed from a distance, and your body's just going to go boom, and you're probably getting run over at that point. It's just been either that or you're going to get knocked to the side, and you're probably going to fall shallowly onto the lawn. You're not going to be a couple feet off the lawn.
Well, wouldn't he fall right where the debris field would be? I mean, that would make more sense to me, or just
It would be.
just to the right of it, not
Yeah.
way up there.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. This is absolutely insane. I mean, I'll put it this way. That debris field would be more possible if someone had a shotgun or a handgun and was standing 5 to 10 feet behind that taillight and shot the thing. There would be possibly a backlash of taillight, but it's basically just going to be a dead hit. It's like if you hit the thing with a baseball bat, it's going to it might have a small debris field, but it's not going to launch like 20 feet in the air like it's Iron Man or something. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Sadie says it's magic, guys. You're not supposed to question it.
You're right,
Maybe
Sadie. You are correct.
magic.
You are correct.
Magic.
Yeah, you're right. What are we thinking?
We're not trying to make this, a joke or of the tragic situation. Is absolutely 100% a tragic situation, but we're just like looking at these guys. It's a joke what the Commonwealth has put out there. I mean,
That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep playing.
492. Publish to the journal, please.
Okay.
I want to make sure we're clear that we're not
Yes.
goofing on what happened.
Yeah.
But this is
And there's no area to slash the back of his head at all. None.
right. I mean, where's that happening? Yeah, I mean, Ruby, great, great
that's
question.
coming up.
Great comment, not question.
Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Uh-oh.
Take a look just above the arrow.
His
You're on
tail
the
light right
mission
there.
to highlight or magnify the area just above the arrow.
Okay.
You see that
Yes, I do.
right underneath fire hydrant, correct?
Correct.
What does that look like to you?
Yeah.
A piece of plastic.
Just toss it wherever.
Correct.
Can we go back with the court's permission to exhibit?
Oh, how can you laugh about this stuff? I'm
87?
not talking about
Didn't they
people.
find this piece was not even part of it?
I think so. Yeah,
Didn't
I
they
think
find this piece is not even part of the taillight?
Yeah, I think so. I don't recall this being a part of that official breakdown of taillight.
Yeah. It's like
one of the
debris that
one of
was
the
just on
trolls said, he
road.
goes, "How are people like you laughing about something like this?" Because this whole trial is an absolute charade. It's an absolute joke that anybody's trying to tell us that this is seriously an investigation at all, and it needs to be laughed at. Quite honestly,
Who
It's
was
dead.
this?
Some troll on X that I posted about
Got
today
it.
was blasting me. Posted a picture of me like smiling at the rally, the standout on Friday there. So, but they have no joy in their lives. But they try to think that we're not taking John O'Keefe's life seriously. Actually, we're taking it very seriously because we're actually actively
We want to
fighting
get to
for
the truth. Yeah, we want
Yeah.
to get to the truth. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree. All right,
Yep.
let's see what Jackson has to say here.
Just a fire hydrant?
I could have swore this piece is not
Yes.
part of this.
I think you're right about that. I think that was dismissed or debunked.
Fire hydrant's right there, correct?
Caveman,
Correct.
thank you. $5.
That's another, according to your scale.
Real quick. He takes drinks out of his cup, lollipops. He's throwing down a shot. Bet he wished he said no to reconstructing this crash and should have stopped and said no. And I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
It's probably a good 30 feet from the pedestrian's final rest, correct?
Yeah, that's about right.
That is the furthermost
Maybe.
in this diagram, the furthermost piece of debris on the diagram, correct?
Correct.
So now your testimony changed that this, in fact, is the area of impact.
No,
Why not?
because it's just a piece of debris. I'm talking about the path. You follow the path of debris field. Debris can move and change.
The debris doesn't fly backwards,
Debris
does
can
it?
change.
I'm saying you pointed to like just the fire hydrant as the area impact where the debris, where that one piece of plastic was, saying that's the area impact is right next to the fire hydrant.
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
I'm asking you,
I'm making sure I'm understanding what you're saying so I can answer the right.
Ask the question again, Mr. Jackson.
Ask it differently.
you indicated on Friday that your analysis of the area of impact was predicated on, based on, the furthermost piece of debris from the pedestrian's body that you were aware of, which is right there. Red plastic B, correct?
I said you said earlier with the linear equation. I mean, it might have moved it over more, but it's the debris, the start of that debris, and where that is. I can't say that's definitely the point of area impact or the point of impact.
You can't.
I cannot say that is the point of impact right there. You just kind of follow the linear path because they have to follow in a direct path that way.
Okay, so now your testimony is that's not the area of impact.
Nope.
I never said that was the area impact. I said it's after that.
Trooper, we were all here on Friday.
Okay.
That's exactly what you said under questioning by Mr. Lally, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Didn't you say on Friday that you determined the area of impact for Mr. O'Keefe, the point of impact was red plastic B because that was the furthermost piece of debris you were aware of from the final point of rest from Mr. O'Keefe's body. Isn't that what you said?
I don't believe that's my exact words.
Okay, I'm not asking if it was your exact words. I don't have a transcript of it. I'm asking you, is that what you tried to impart to the jurors?
What I said to the jury, I said after that. That's the start of that's the last point of evidence that I had. I said the area impact is probably along the roadway after that point. I mean, like before it, if you have to walk towards him.
I'm sorry, I keep doing that because I think you're done. Are you done?
I am done now.
I think you're dumb. No, done.
Now
Okay.
you're aware there's a piece of debris looks like taillight material right under the fire hydrant, correct?
Sorry
Correct.
about all that. I had to just post some stuff
Oh,
in the
it's all
chat.
good.
Area of impact,
That's all right.
which you indicated on Friday was where this red plastic B is, you would be wrong, right? Your analysis would be flawed.
No, because that's not what I said. I said it's along the roadway, and it's going to be after that point.
Okay, so is the area of impact now where the fire hydrant is?
Even $5.
Ask it
Use
differently.
crayons instead of eating them.
Are you
Thank
now
Appreciate
indicating, because now you realize that there's a piece of debris directly under the fire hydrant, are you now indicating that that's the area of impact where John O'Keefe's body was struck?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let's take a look at exhibit, with the court's permission, 279.
Okay.
Uh-oh. I always call this the wheel. This is kind of what Alan Jackson does. He brings them in, brings them back around, gets them to speak, and then catches them in the lie.
That piece right there, okay, of plastic. You see it?
Yes.
You describe it for me. Just physically, what does that look like?
Looks like clear plastic with a little bit of red and black on the top part.
Okay, maybe in a
Great
triangular
observation.
shape, is that fair?
Correct.
Okay.
This is
Now,
not
we could
part.
Go back to, with the court's permission, exhibit
Yeah, I think he's gonna-
492.
Okay.
I think essentially what's happening here, if I remember, Alan Jackson's going to essentially say this piece of taillight has nothing to do with essentially this case, the said broken tail, the shattered, smashed taillight. And I think they prove that, and I think that's where he's going with this. And he's like, it's just literally road debris.
And highlight just above the ruler.
Be a broken reflector or something, you know?
Right. I mean, cars lose shit on the roadway all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, go
It
out
looks
on
like the same piece.
go out on the highway and tell me you don't pass, 5 different hubcaps that are lost on the breakdown
Sure.
lane as you're traveling home.
Sure.
You see tires shredded and taillights and reflectors and all that shit.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Does that, based on that, does that appear to be part of the taillight material that was found at the scene?
Correct.
Now, based on that,
Could be wrong. I think
are you now
where he's going with
suggesting
this.
if we could go with the court's permission, if we could go back to 587, I'll stop jumping around just a second. I think we
Okay.
could just get back to 587. Oh, sorry, the diagram.
Excuse me.
Now, seeing what you just now seen in terms of that piece of plastic,
Caveman, $2. The taillight puked
does that
everywhere.
appear to be under the
Yeah.
fire hydrant, which is highlighted?
Thank you.
Same piece.
Yes.
Based on that, does that change your opinion? Is that now, the fire hydrant now, the point of impact?
Welcome in, Shelby.
No.
Where is the point of impact now?
It's like a debris
It's
field
along
as
the
large
roadway.
as
I
the
don't know this
Titanic.
point impact.
Yeah.
Can I?
So you
Jeez.
don't know the area of impact.
I said the area impact is along the roadway after the debris.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing it would change, only thing it would change is maybe it was a little further away. But besides that, it's a linear field. I'm not talking about like one point. It's you kind of follow the middle of the debris field, and that should be the path.
Well, if the point of impact is along the roadway, where along the roadway, if you can show the jurors, where along the roadway, in your expert opinion, was the point of impact?
It should be within, if you follow from pedestrians, find a rest here, just kind of follow back. That's what I'm talking about, linear field.
So now you've indicated an area, if I can follow your laser pointer, an area along here, correct?
Yes, somewhere in there.
What?
All right, if I have my
What?
spotlight,
What? Wait a minute. Whoa. So we're looking at this diagram. Now this is where Trooper Paul is saying that the point of impact. So you're saying literally those taillight pieces flew what, Maz? 20, 30 feet in that direction.
That is correct.
And then let's just say, and I may be wrong, but I think AJ is going here with this, but it could have been the Tully testimony. The piece that he's talking about that's close to the hydrant, he's either going to say, and I could be wrong, maybe audience can guide us because I forget, it's not part of the specific Lexus taillight, or he's going to get to the point of how the hell did this piece that's next to the fire hydrant essentially fly, what, 50 feet now over near there? That doesn't make any sense.
None on the road?
Yeah, right.
Is that, if I leave it right there, is that about where the middle of the spotlight, about where you believe the area of impact is?
What?
It's within, I guess you can say it's within that area. I don't know definitely. There's nothing on the roadway that has a definitive point that says this is the area impact right here. It's within the roadway based on the evidence at the scene.
Mr. Paul, sorry, Trooper Paul, I'm asking you based on
additionally, the taillight was still to some degree intact
based on your full analysis.
when they left. When they towed the vehicle away from Dighton, the whole right side of the taillight was intact and lit up.
100%.
And basically, only any taillight that would have been able to bang a right and then go beyond the point of where the vehicle had come from, that's not even possible. That's magic taillight. This is insane. And you have people on the other side of this that try to tell us we're idiots and out of our minds, a cover up and a frame job. When you look at stuff like this, this is logic right here. Taillight does not go that far unless it's like I said, shot with a gun or something. I mean, and then maybe it will shatter and go flying a little bit. But you take, then this is just hitting a human body. It's not hitting a really solid object like another vehicle, like we went over just the other night. This is absolutely insane.
I literally wanted to get a taillight, right? And I was going to experiment with it, and I wanted to get one, but like an actual Lexus taillight is like $1,300, and I'm not spending $1,300 to just destroy it. But I would love to like do that and set up like a baseball machine and hit it at like 25 miles an hour and see what kind of damage it does to it.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But I'm not gonna waste like $1,300.
No. Well, we can get a fundraiser.
Yeah, right.
We'll get a popcorn sales thing going for that for an experiment.
Right.
Well,
we need a tail light. Yeah, we need a tail light.
Can you point me to within an area of 5 feet or so on the roadway where you believe the area of impact is? Is my spotlight basically highlighting the area that you believe, in your opinion, is the area of impact?
You have that laser pointer?
I do.
Why don't we let
Yes,
him
I
show
do
you?
indeed, Atty Bev. Let me shine that right at that bulletin board right
What
now.
I'm trying to say is, so
right, here we
you
go.
follow the linear path back.
It's like shaky
around this area.
Can you?
And sorry, I'm trying to keep it straight as much as I can.
He's nervous.
Follow back to here. I can't say like if this definitely is, but it's possibly based on also vehicle damage to the back of the vehicle. So if you follow all the way back to here, that could be a possible area impact.
Oh my God.
So when you say that area there, I want to be very clear for the record that what you highlighted is an area basically just to the left of an X that's on the roadway, on the bottom of diagram 3, toward the lower part of diagram 3.
It's
correct.
You would use your circle almost to kind of be a good area around.
Sorry.
You can use a circle around here. This would be around the area.
Okay.
Okay.
So using your scale,
Laser pointer.
that scale is going from full left to full right,
It's
plus
like
or minus
30 feet.
40 feet, right?
20 feet.
Switch. Can't see it.
I agree, Katrina.
So,
I
so
agree.
say again. Say the question.
That scale is 40 feet, going full
The
left,
voice
full
is
right,
not
40 feet.
It's 40 feet. It's a 10-foot scale.
Okay, sorry, 20 feet.
Why is there no taillight
Oh,
between the
okay.
fire hydrant and the other debris field? Why is there such a level of
All
inconsistency?
right, so if you
It
use
makes no
that
sense.
scale,
Yeah, exactly. This is embarrassing. And I just want to make sure like people understand, and I know everybody here in this chat understands it. This is what the blue shirts are rolling with. This is what this side believes in, not the ARCA guy. Let's just put it this way. Jennifer Coffindaffer this morning had to open her big flap, and she's out there at like 8 o'clock this morning, right? Yapping about Turtle Boy, yapping about Karen Reed because she has to stay relevant. She has no relevance in any of this. And she's talking about, I think in her tweet, she's talking about that Karen just needs to admit to manslaughter because she did that. This is literally the person that Jennifer Coffindaffer is rolling with. And every single time she puts a dumb tweet out there, I literally add in a reply. And then I always ask her, can you answer about ARCA? And she won't say anything, Maz. And those are her peeps. Her peeps hired hired ARCA independently to look at this investigation, and she will not talk about it. She won't talk about it.
Not at
She
all.
won't talk about it. She will
Not
not
at all.
reply.
Yeah.
Will not reply.
I saw your reply to her. It was
I'm
good.
just going to use
What's that?
I saw your reply to her. It was good. I liked it. I read that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll read my reply to what I said to Coffin Daffer today, because she's saying some pretty vile stuff about Aiden. And I said, hey, a journalist. She said that, oh, well, Karen Reed and Aiden Carney talked to 170 times on the phone. Well, big deal. He's a journalist. He's getting a story. He's asking conversations. I mean, he's asking questions, reputable questions to put out a story. And I asked her, so I said, a journalist talking to someone and to get a story is now considered a crime. It's a crime. I said, I'm still waiting for your response about ARCA, the organization that worked for the FBI, hired your organization that hired the FBI for them to conduct an independent investigation in the reconstruction of the accident scene. And they found that Karen Reed never hit John, and John never made contact with Karen Reed's SUV. Will you deny science? And she will not answer me. She won't answer me. She won't answer me. I'd pull up my panel, let her talk about ARCA. Why not? Accident recon, have a nervous breakdown. Thank you so much, Bookmouse, for the $2. All right, let's get back to this testimony.
Yeah. As a starting point, you estimate to the jurors from this X that I've highlighted, the pedestrian's final rest. What's that number? Doesn't have to be exact. Give me an estimate.
So,
Oh boy,
I mean, it could be within 30 feet because
it's gonna be bad.
I tell you this. Also on my scale, this 2 and 3 is 50 feet from each other.
Is how much?
50.
Okay.
Okay. She's like, okay.
50.
Would you agree that from this X down here to pedestrian's final rest, as a crow flies,
It's more than 20
that's
feet.
probably a good 35, 40
Yeah,
feet.
they say it's more than 20.
It's a pretty wide field.
I mean, I could try to use the scale, but it is me as a scale.
If you would
Yeah, if
mind.
you can assess the crime scene, that would be great.
If you wouldn't mind, and
Yes, please.
they're gonna fall short.
Court's permission,
Okay.
just blank piece of paper.
I just want to say I wouldn't want to be in this guy's shoes.
No.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Uh-oh.
You need a pen?
I got one. Thank you.
No, thank you. I already have one.
Little Ace Ventura.
No, thank you. I already brought my own.
Yeah. Hey, Ace, you got any more of those mints? We won't talk about that.
right. I don't mind if you say it on my business, Dan.
Mr. Winky.
Oh man, that movie was so fun.
Oh, it's so
second,
great.
Second one's pretty solid too, but the
Let
first
me
one.
in, coach. I'm ready to go.
Right. Yeah.
Einhorn's Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn.
Yeah.
It's a little around. It's approximately 30 feet.
Can't make a movie like that now, Maz.
No.
No, that won't
Can you
fly.
place,
Halftime.
Yeah.
with court's permission, can
The
you
UPS
estimate
scene alone. Oh my
30 feet
goodness.
in here?
Gonna
Can you point to a place in the courtroom that looks like it's 30 feet from you?
objection.
No.
What are you objecting to,
No.
Why
Sally?
would you? Why?
Or have a diagram?
Wait a minute. Why? Why?
Of the
Now.
the diagram of distances.
Welcome in,
In
everybody.
this courtroom?
Smash that liketh button when you come in.
You indicated just now, and then I'm finished with this. Thank you. Thanks. You indicated just now in answer to Mr. Lowry's last couple of questions that in your expert opinion, when the SUV struck pedestrian John O'Keefe, he was, quote, projected forward and to the left to the front yard to his final place of rest.
Yes.
Forward and to the left.
So your expert testimony is that John O'Keefe was hit with
AJ's
the
just
SUV
shitting on him right now. Your expert
flew.
testimony.
30 feet.
Projected mean like I don't say he flew all the way there. He was projected in that way. He got pushed forward in that direction.
Uh-oh.
He was rendered incapacitated, landed there, and had to sort of fly there, right? Didn't walk there.
I mean, would you definitely flying like literally off the ground the whole entire time? Or,
Well, you tell me, you're the expert.
I mean, he got, when we say projected, we mean he gets projected and they they usually have a landing phase, and they land and then they either roll or tumble to final rest.
Okay, how far do you think he landed? How far was it until he landed of that 30 feet?
I don't know. There's no indication of where his exact landing spot was.
Was
Do you
there
have a
any
projection?
evidence whatsoever that he landed and rolled?
And there was no evidence that he landed or rolled. Or no, rolled.
Did he do a pirouette?
According to you, the evidence that you have in front of you is that you get hit, fly 30 feet, land where he ended up in his final rest, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Based on your expert opinion, you believe that he was projected through the air to his final rest place.
That's not what I'm saying.
But you said there's no evidence that he rolled.
And there's no evidence that he flew through the air either.
Exactly.
There we go.
I told you it's the wheel.
Objection.
Sustained.
Hey, Lally, what are you doing, brother?
Look
Stop
at
it.
Jackson's just laughing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm
There you
telling
go.
That's the wheel.
You said on Friday that in your
He does.
experience, people tend to lose objects that are not strapped to them. Is that right?
Yes.
In other words, get hit by something, car, truck, bus, whatever, train, and if you have something in your hand, boom, you lose it, you drop it. If it's not strapped to you, correct?
Correct.
How do you suppose that Mr. O'Keefe, in your opinion, held on to that glass cup that was found right next to him over the course of 30 feet being projected?
Objection.
I'll allow
What are you
it.
objecting
Do you have
to,
a theory on
Lally?
that?
I don't know. I mean, it just could have been with him the whole way.
With them.
I don't
Is it
I
with
don't
him?
have a
Yes.
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know how the glass
Did he
stayed
hold
with
on to
his
the glass
body.
like he was Odell
and went-
Beckham Jr.?
What's that?
Did he hold on to the glass like he was Odell Beckham Jr.?
It was just with them, Maz. It's just with them.
with him to the final rest.
So I mean, it's just common sense. You have to believe that it was in his hand. He held on to it the entire time it was being projected 30 feet.
Yeah, the kung fu grip.
It could have been in his hand. It could have been tucked next to his clothing. Could,
Did you say tucked into?
I mean, like, could have been next to his body. So when he projected, maybe the glass was with his body as it was also flying. So there's a number of reasons why the glass, because it also got projected with the body
Well,
while he was holding it.
I thought
Why'd you say
said
tucked
on
in?
Friday, and you just agreed with me that people drop things when they're hit.
Yes, body think not everything it tends to fly off. I mean, some stuff flies off, some stuff will stay on.
I see.
It's not uncommon to find piece of clothing and stuff,
Oh God!
that you find at the scene.
Look at Jackson.
Like clothing, like shoes. I mean, it's like shoes and stuff like that to come off the body.
Look at Liz Little's. I think it's her boyfriend up here, or Bo. I don't know. Maybe her husband. I think this is her. You just watch his facial expressions through all of this. I find it very amusing because he's like, "What is going on? What is going
During a
on?"
pedestrian crash.
Well, that's not what I asked.
I know.
Does
I'm
that
just
go
saying.
back
You
and
asked me.
forth?
You said why this. I'm just responding to what you said, and trying to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't. But I'll ask another question.
I'll ask it a different way.
Definition, right?
Yes, but it's very
No,
common for shoes to come off.
How about a cell phone?
Cell phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
it depends. Depends on where it is.
And he, well, it was under his body.
Okay.
How do you account for that? He held onto his cell phone with one hand and held onto the cup with the other.
Oh boy.
Objection.
Lally,
Sustained.
Lally,
Ask it differently.
stop.
If his cell phone was found under his torso, under his body,
Oh boy.
what's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet with it?
It just did.
It just
Just did. It
And
just
somehow,
did.
as he landed, tucked that cell phone underneath his body so he landed on top of
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene. I didn't put the evidence there. So
it. Well,
Who did? Who did out of
Wow.
curiosity?
All right.
Whoa! I didn't.
Who did out of curiosity?
Wow!
You
I
know?
didn't catch that before. Do you remember that?
So much happened, and it was tough to pay attention.
Wow.
To all of it. Yeah, that's this is really standing out to me a lot more now.
What is it? JJ to go back? JJ?
Yeah, JJ. Yep.
I want to hear that
for backwards,
again.
L for
I
forward,
didn't
yeah.
put the evidence there. And Jackson should have went. Who did?
That could be a Freudian slip right there too.
I would say.
And he also said something about the glass being tucked in. So
Yeah.
there's some slippage going on there in terms of Freudian slips. This is incredible. This is
There's a
crazy.
lot of them coming.
This is
coming
insanity,
through
I
right
should
now.
say. Yeah, I can't even think of the words.
I didn't put the evidence there. Well, I would have went. Who did? Here we go.
It just did.
Wow.
Just did. And somehow, as he landed,
Can you just go
tucked
back
that
like
cell
maybe
phone
another 20
underneath the
seconds?
body.
Yep.
Thank you so much. That's
Let's
perfect.
try this. Poor Madam Court reporter.
Love that lady.
She's
You know, someone
taking on
told me.
oxygen.
I can't even tell this story, but I heard a rumor that Madam Court Reporter is a Mazza Media fan, but you never heard that.
All right. I love it. She's just getting some oxygen. She can't believe it. All right, let's hear.
Cell phone. Yeah. Yeah, it depends on where it is.
Well, it was under his body.
Okay.
How do you
He's
count
making
that?
this stuff
Held
up.
onto a cell phone with one hand and held onto the cup with the other.
Objection.
Well, Jackson says to him, it was under his body, and he's like, okay, like, all right, you know, like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Sustained. Ask
Here we
it
go.
differently.
He knows he's screwed. He's against the wall.
If his cell phone was found under his torso, under his body, what's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet?
Just did.
It just did.
That's an unacceptable response,
And
sir.
somehow, as he landed, tucked that cell phone underneath his body, so he landed on top of
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene. I didn't put the evidence there. So
it. Well, you didn't.
Objection.
All right.
You didn't. He said, well, you
jury
didn't.
told you
Oh! Did I strike a nerve there by saying?
Yeah. He said, well, you didn't. Look at him. He is a nervous Nelly right now. Caveman $2 says Jackson did say, yeah, in a kind of roundabout way he did.
He did. Well, then who did?
Yeah.
Oh, did I have a sore spot there?
I like it.
Jeez.
All right,
Good
here
for
we
you,
go.
Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, lawyers
Man.
cannot make comments, so
Oh.
disregard it.
Yeah,
Mr.
Yeah,
Jackson,
yeah.
don't
Question.
do
He
it
asked the
again.
question. He said,
So
who did?
You un-
He asked the
Right.
question.
Yeah, Island Girl, the expert. Right. You
Can
are
I
the
ask
expert.
the question? Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Can he just ask the question in a different way? Because he did ask a question. If you did, who did? It's a
Yeah.
question. It wasn't commentary. It wasn't a comment. Let's be honest here. That's come on. He asked it in the form of the question.
What if he's having an out of body experience? Right? You know what I mean? Like right now, just as a very moment, like I cannot believe I'm here. This is so surreal. I just want to get out of this place.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, those are the thoughts that are going through this guy's head.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Oh,
All right, he's up
miserable.
against the wall hard. All right.
understand, but don't do it. Your answer is always, I understand.
You
Don't
did.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Cell phone in one hand, cup in the other hand.
It's just getting tougher for him right now.
Through the air. Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Hang on one
Of
second.
course.
You were informed of this incident on January 29th, 2022 at about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Fair
Is that
enough,
right?
Jonathan. Fair enough.
Yes.
That's a good point,
Time you
Jonathan.
were
You're right.
walking out of the Cars facility, which is
Oh, and by the way, if anybody wants to know, I love York peppermint patties, by the way.
Oh, those are the best. Those are the best.
These things are
Classics.
great. I think
Yeah.
that and peanut butter cups are my favorite. But
Oh, peanut butter
God,
cups are. Oh, peanut butter
York
cups are
peppermint
amazing.
patty. Oh, Maz, if I had one, I'd share one. If we could
Thank you
reach
so
the
much.
screen, I would share one with you right now.
Thank you.
Oh God,
Okay.
York peppermint patty. God dang.
Jonathan just made a quick correction in the
Okay, yeah.
comments
West
saying,
Coast.
no, you didn't. So he did. Alan Jackson did say it in the form of a comment. So it was a little bit of a correction that Jonathan provided
it.
that. So thank you, Jonathan.
Got it. All right, Caveman, $2. Thank you. Said didn't say the truth, Mr. Jackson. Come on, Auntie Bev. Come on, buddy. All right, here we go.
in Middleborough. Is that right?
Yes.
By the way,
She's gonna
that's
watch a little trial. There you
facility
go.
that has multiple garages. Sally ports, I don't know if they're called Sally ports.
Eating
or
on stream,
garage bays,
bad.
correct?
The mechanic shop are there.
The mechanic shop
Yes.
is if you're going to review, for instance, for purposes of reconstruction, if you're going to review a vehicle, is the vehicle placed in those mechanics bays?
No, not there. That's for state police vehicles.
Okay, so where are the mechanics bays? Sorry,
Uh-oh.
reverse that. Where are the Sally ports where you do your analysis, your reconstruction, your review of the vehicle, inspections, things of that nature?
We don't have Sally ports for that.
You don't have anything dedicated to that?
No, the only time we would use a Sally port is the crime scene would have some Sally ports that they would do to document their crime scene stuff. And I've gone there, they've done my inspections, but most of our inspections are done either at the tow yard or some type of facility for that.
Ultimately, was this SUV ever taken to the Middleborough facility?
Yes, it was.
Where was it placed?
There's a fenced in area inside it's a fenced in area.
Is it outside or inside?
outside.
Okay. Did it remain outside in that fenced-in area the whole time?
I don't know the exact time. It was there for a while, then it got moved.
Where did it get moved to?
I'm not sure exactly where they moved it immediately after it left Middleborough.
Are you familiar with the Foxborough location at MSD?
Yes.
That have sally ports or bays for inspection and evaluation?
It has garages in it, but
Sorry.
we wouldn't use them. We don't normally use those garages for inspections.
Is it possible to use those garages for inspections?
It is possible.
Okay. It's happened before, correct?
I've not used the inspection in the garages.
Cayman, they've
I'm
been
going to ask you to
$2.
keep your voice up and
Sorry.
speak
Yes.
slowly.
But you
Kid's
know
got
that
marbles in his mouth. Oh my
Speak
god.
into the
those bays could be used for inspections or analysis or evaluation if needed, correct?
Yes.
Given the fact that the SUV that was being seized on January 29th was being seized as potential evidence, best practices would suggest that you'd want to get it in and out of the bad weather, the inclement weather, as quickly as possible, correct? You wouldn't want to subject it to
Shelby.
continued forces from nature like rain, wind,
gosh.
snow, sleet.
Oh, it's Shelby.
Right?
That would be beneficial, yes.
You're aware that the Foxborough location and the Middleborough location with the mechanics bays are all closer to Dighton than Canton, right?
Both Foxborough and
Foxborough and Middleborough are both closer to Dighton than Canton. In other words, you have to pass by, depending on which way you go, pass by Middleborough, pass by Foxborough to get to Canton.
Mm-hmm.
so from where?
From Dighton, sorry.
So from Dighton.
Where the vehicle was seized in
Yeah.
all going toward Canton, you pass by either Middleborough or Foxborough to get to Canton, right?
I don't believe you'd pass by Middleborough to get to Canton, but you pass by Foxborough.
All right. The car was not taken to Foxborough, was it?
No.
As a matter of fact, the car was taken basically double the distance all the way to Canton to that sally port, correct?
Objection.
Do you know that? Is that double the distance?
I don't know the exact distance. I know it was in Canton.
Come on,
You know
bro.
it's farther.
You live in Massachusetts. You know.
From Dighton, yes.
Right. And you're also aware that because you've been to the scene, assuming, correct, the 34th Fairview,
Yes. Yes, I have.
and you've been to Canton PD,
Yes, I have.
you know that those two locations are about 3-4 minutes apart.
Yeah, I can say that.
When you started let me ask this a little bit different way. Before you began any review on this case, any physical review on this case or analysis on the case, you were told that there had been a crash, correct?
Yes.
You testified to that at the state court grand jury in this matter. Is that right? That you've been told in advance this was a vehicle pedestrian crash and you were asked to analyze it, right?
Yes.
You wrote in your report that it was a single vehicle collision involving a pedestrian and you were, quote, assigned to reconstruct that collision, correct?
Yes.
So when you began your analysis, Trooper Paul, you were told conclusively by the lead investigator, Michael Proctor, that the deceased was hit by a car and your job was to reconstruct it. Is that right?
Objection.
Okay, so there are lots of parts to that. Break it down.
Sure. Were you told by Michael Proctor to reconstruct this incident?
Objection.
So were you told that by Trooper Proctor?
I was not.
Okay, next question.
Sure. Who were you told? Who were you given your instructions by
Instructions for what?
to reconstruct this incident?
I wasn't given instructions to reconstruct it. It's just I was assigned to it.
Right.
That was requested. My assistance was requested to reconstruct it.
That's my question. Who
Just
assigned
said
you to
that.
it?
I talked to my sergeant at the time who gave me the phone call.
And you were told some basics about that reconstruction, the event that you were asked to reconstruct, correct?
Yes.
The information that you were told came from the case officer. Is that right?
Who's the case officer?
The information that this was a pedestrian vehicle incident, as opposed to motor vehicle incident,
Danielle,
pedestrian,
thank you for the
bicycle,
$5.
motor
Appreciate
vehicle,
that.
Motorcycle.
Thank you.
You were told it was a motor vehicle pedestrian incident that you were asked to reconstruct, correct?
Yeah, I was told that. Yes.
All right, and you had to be given some basic parameters of what that incident, how that incident occurred. Car was going in reverse. It's got a damaged taillight, things like that. Right?
Some basic stuff. Yeah.
What I'm asking is, I'm trying to get to is, who gave you that information? Where'd it come from?
That the car is traveling in reverse. Like, which part of the information? You asked me about several different things just now.
Were you given information from multiple sources? Or did someone give you a summary of what you were being asked to do at the very beginning?
Yep.
Who gave you the
That was nerves. That shift with the that's nerves.
Yeah.
That's
He's
that
restless. He's
shift in the
nervous.
chair is he's under the heat.
reverse? It's got a damaged taillight,
Watch his
things like that.
Some basic stuff. Yeah.
What I'm asking is, I'm trying to get to is, who gave you that information? Where'd it come from?
That the car is traveling in reverse. Like, which part of the information? You asked me about several different things just now.
Were you given
right there.
information from multiple sources? Or did someone give you a summary of what you were being asked to do at the very beginning?
Yep.
Who gave you the summary?
Eyes go up, swallows.
Yeah, and he's trying right here is a perfect example. Great pause right here. He's trying to pull. He's trying to.
Perfect pause
He
too
knows
on
where
those
the
eyes.
information's coming from. He knows the right answer, but he's cycling in his head. How do I get out of, how do I lie? How do I lie? That's exactly what he's doing here.
Yep.
So the information is getting pulled from his brain. And listen, I'm not an expert here. I know this shit. I've worked in sales for a long time. I can read body
You
language.
saw the negotiator.
I'm not an expert at all. I'm just giving my opinion in this. It's recalling the information. The right answer is coming to him. But he's trying to hide it with a lie. So he's sorting it here. And you saw a lot of that with Jen McCabe too, and Matt McCabe when they were on the stand. But listen, I'm no expert. I don't know if you agree with me, Maz. I don't know if the room agrees with me.
Well,
That's
as soon as his eyes go up, he swallows a little bit. So there's a change in presence there. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I'm watching him through this really hard, tough questioning. He's been doing a lot of this.
Summary of the whole entire of what?
Of the event that you were asked to reconstruct.
So he would be looking.
I was passed down.
Just
Up and to the right means that he's telling the truth. The negotiator.
There was nobody that said that
Really?
gave me this.
I'm sorry.
This is just a quote from the negotiator, and all this stuff's unfounded, by the way. It's not proven, but if you look up and to the right, it's because the memory is being visually accessed. Looking straight ahead or with the eyes up and to the left, we're basically generating creativity. So that's unfounded, though, what they said in that movie, though. That was never proven that if you look up to the right, you're telling the truth, or up to the left, you're accessing memory if you go up to the right, creativity if you go up and to the left, which can usually indicate lying. So that's all unproven. I think I read that somewhere, whatever that
says right here. Optimix eye surgery. It says, what social cues can be detected from your eye moves? Typically looking to the right signifies that you're lying.
Oh, they said something different there. Okay, so that's different than the movie.
This is because we tend to look to the right when we are imaging things, and towards the left. Hang on a second.
In the movie?
Let's see. It says Optimax eye surgery. I don't know. This is the first thing that I pulled up. It says looking to the left. Glancing to the left suggests that you're remembering facts and having visual thoughts. This is often a good way to check whether someone is telling you the truth. It can also mean that someone is having a conversation with themselves internally or rehearsing for the next line. When you look to the right, typically looking to the right signifies lying. This is because they tend to look to the right when they are imaging things and toward the left when they are remembering. However, it is also thought to be looking to the right and downward suggests self-doubt, while looking to the right and up indicates that a person is telling untruths. Wow.
I just pulled the exact quote, and the Google search might have thrown me off here. So here it is. If I ask you, quote unquote, if I ask you a question about something visual, like your favorite color, your eyes go up and to the left. Neurophysiology tells us your eyes go in that direction because you're accessing the visual cortex, eyes to the left. So you're telling the truth. If your eyes go up and to the right, you're accessing the brain's creative centers, and we know you're full of really. Okay, so that's the exact quote. I had to go to Internet Movie Database to get that exact one, because whatever was in that Google whatever was in that Google search result was not right. So there we go.
So my Google search was wrong.
No, your Google search was right. So the first thing I stated was incorrect. Then what you stated was correct. Then I double checked the quote, got the full quote.
Got it.
That's now. So we're both, the second time I spoke and the time you spoke were spot on, correct.
Got it.
There we go. So the first
Got
Google thing I got is someone messed it up in the one of these websites.
Interesting.
Yeah, there we go.
Summary, like that I can remember. I was told that it was a pedestrian crash. I knew it was a Boston police officer involved. That this was a vehicle.
What he says, no matter what Trooper Paul says, he's full of shit.
And that it was traveling in reverse.
There you go.
That's all they had.
Okay. What I'm asking is, that's great.
Fair enough.
Thank you for the summary.
Fair enough.
Who gave you that summary?
I don't know if it was definitely anybody from the get-go that was like I talked to.
From where?
I don't know if it's anybody that I could definitely say that was the person. There was multiple people going around when I got there. I think I talked to Trooper Zach Clark. He was doing the crime scene. I think he was more Zach Clark. He was the crime scene photos at the time. I knew him from past crashes. He just said this is the vehicle, and I think he kind of gave me a little bit of a lowdown on what the vehicle was.
Okay.
So
Lowdown. He gave him the lowdown.
My question is this. When you got that, did you call it a lowdown? He gave you the lowdown?
he gave me information. Yes.
Right. When you got
What's the lowdown?
The
you were told
lowdown.
Boston police officer was involved.
Oh shit.
Vehicle pedestrian
The lowdown.
incident. Car was going in reverse.
I can just imagine it that night. Come over here, Paul. Trooper Paul, come over here. I'm gonna give you the lowdown. I'm gonna give you a lowdown on this. Let you know. Oh boy.
Ultimately led to the death of the pedestrian.
No, not dancing, not a hoedown. A lowdown.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And you were assigned specifically to try to reconstruct that incident.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the phrase confirmation bias?
Oh, here we go.
I know the phrase. Yes.
You know what it means?
I can't definitely say what it means.
Developing a conclusion
Yeah.
and then trying to find evidence to fit that conclusion. Does that sound right?
Uh-oh.
If you say so.
You noted in your direct examination that there were scratches on the passenger side rear bumper of the Lexus, correct?
Yes.
How exactly were you able to
whispering.
scientifically determine that any of those scratches were from an incident on January 29th, 2022, as opposed to any other time?
I didn't have anything else on the time. Is that those scratches happened prior to this collision?
I'm sorry.
I didn't have any information that those scratches were caused from a prior collision. And so when I looked at the evidence, I knew it was in that same area, the right rear tail light. So when I looked at it, it didn't quite fit the pedestrian thing. So when you showed me the video, or I saw the video like a year ago on Court TV, I said that could be.
What? You asked the question. So next,
I
keep
did.
going.
It's not responsive.
He's answering. Next
trying to-
question. Then
You guys
go
how
ahead.
scientifically
Hold on.
thought the scratches were.
Hold on. Ask
Sorry.
a question, Mr. Jackson.
You know what normal wear and tear on a vehicle is, right?
Yes.
Bumpers get scratched myriad ways, correct?
Correct.
Get scratched in a grocery store parking lot, right?
Yes.
Shopping cart can bounce off the back of the car and scratch the bumper, scratch the side of the car, quarter panel or something, right?
Sure.
I mean, I don't want to go through it, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of ways that a car can get a scratch, correct?
Correct.
My question is, as you sit here, do you have any scientific evidence
Uh-oh.
that those scratches occurred on January 29th at approximately 12:45 a.m.?
What do you mean by scientific evidence?
You're the expert, dude.
Do you have any evidence whatsoever that you can point to that those scratches occurred on that date and at that time, rather than any other time in the history of that vehicle?
Like I said earlier, the video seems to appear that's what it looks like that could have been from.
Well, you said on Friday, let's talk about those scratches for a second.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
You testified Friday, you were pretty clear. You said that, if I can find it exactly.
Facial tick.
I may have just a moment.
Grab some
Sure.
water. All right, let me speed this up for the interest of time.
You said, quote, the dent and scratches for his hand could be, those are consistent with striking the Lexus. Remember saying that?
Yes, on the tailgate.
Okay, so the dent and scratches you talked about on Friday, you said were from his hand.
Yes, hand in the glass cup.
Okay. Then are those the same scratches you're talking about in terms of the bumper?
No.
So,
What are you talking about? The scratch inside the bumper that we've been talking about?
correct.
Okay.
That's what I'm
No.
talking about. Okay. Is there any way to scientifically date a scratch?
No.
If you go out in the parking lot right now, even as an accident reconstructionist, you walk out in the parking lot right now.
Oh, God, he just insulted
Look at
me.
the camera sitting there. It's got a scratch on it. There's no analysis that you could engage in to date that scratch, could you?
Objection.
So you can ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Is there any way that you could, in general, look at a scratch and say, that scratch is from such and such date?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Nothing more.
I'll allow it.
You cannot say. You can look at evidence and shows that it may have been older than what the newer evidence would be, but there's no way to say that specific date and time and that a scratch would come from.
Right. And it's possible
Oh,
that any or all of those scratches on the Lexus could have predated January 29th, correct?
No,
That's not possible.
what?
the ones that are on from the taillight and the other parts of it
Scratches anywhere on the car.
depends on what you got to pick the other scratches. You got to show me other scratches on the car.
I'm saying it's possible, since you can't date the scratch, it's possible that any or all of those scratches could predate January 29th. It's a simple question, right? It's possible.
You're being pretty broad on your scratches here.
I'm not being brought it. Let me ask it a different way. Let me ask it again. Is it possible that any or all of the scratches noted on that car predate January 29th?
Any and all of the
Oh
scratches.
my God.
See, that's what I'm saying. You're being pretty broad. Any and all scratches on the car
Answer that question. If
that it
it's possible.
predate.
Objection.
I don't know every single
What?
scratch on that car. I could mean
Overruled.
Whoa, look
So
at this.
if-
Alec Murdaugh's conviction might be overturned. What? Wow. Wow. I'm going to look into that.
Can you answer
wow.
that question?
no.
Wow.
You
That
testified
guy
that you noted
totally
glass
murdered
on
his
the rear bumper of
family.
the SUV, correct?
Yes.
And you said something about that glass coming from the cup.
Wow. 10 hours ago, Alec Murdaugh could get a new trial after South Carolina Supreme Court. Real quick, Supreme agrees to hear jury tampering appeal. Oh my God. This is going to be like, if they retrial that, you know how many people are going to watch that, Maz? Holy shit. I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that here on this channel. I can tell you that. Wow.
Correct.
Wow.
You also said that you did not see anything on that SUV that could be the source of this glass.
That
pieces on
guy
the bumper,
totally
right?
murdered his family.
Yes.
When you did your reconstruction and your analysis, were you informed that none of the glass pieces, not one of them, could be matched to the
Rami,
cup?
thanks for the 10. The scratches spoke to him.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know that.
I love that.
So if you knew that the glass pieces on the bumper do not match the cup,
Uh-oh.
that change your opinion
Objection.
about that glass?
Can you answer that question?
I cannot.
Because you know he's
Can't answer
right.
the question.
It's what was told to me as evidence
Got it. By whom?
Ooh.
by the crime scene.
The crime scene whisperer.
Who told you?
As crime scene that was there, it says it's glass from the cup. When I did my initial inspection, that's what it was on from.
That's not what you just said. You said that's what was told to me.
Yeah, by crime. No, yeah, I can see by crime scene. While I was at my inspection,
Wait, what?
it was told to me by the crime scene when I was at
Spoke
my
to you?
inspection, at the initial inspection.
Yes. the
What you meant by that's what was told to me is the crime scene talk to you?
Yes.
What?
Crime scene say anything else?
I don't know what else you want me to say.
God, this is embarrassing. So this
Doctor tell you that
again, I want to reiterate this, Maz. I mean, this is the blue shirt people go with this guy, right? This is the expert. This is who we line up with. Jennifer Coffindaffer, the Blue Smurfs, the Commonwealth. This is their
Right.
guy, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the
Okay.
guy.
Arca, no, right? Arca, bad. Trooper Paul, good, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure we're clear here because this
Yep.
was the point of doing this kind of two-part series with y'all. We wanted to go back, look at Arca. We had some alternate theories the other day out in front of the courthouse. We wanted to address that. And then we wanted to show and compare and contrast against Arca, the two Arca experts versus Trooper Paul. And I think we're getting a very clear representation here of what the expertise in both of the sides of the case here.
Yeah.
those pieces of glass on the bumper are somehow associated with the cup.
No.
Just the crime scene.
Professor.
Correct.
But if you knew that the crime scene was incorrect, and in fact those glass pieces don't match the cup, would that change your opinion?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would it change your opinion in any way if you knew that the glass pieces do not match the cup?
Objection.
How about that? Can you answer that question?
No.
I'm sorry. No. You
I don't. It's a glass from a cup. It's a glass. It's
Hey, man,
not.
they said
It doesn't
two.
belong to the vehicle.
Right.
It's glass.
But if I told you it didn't match that
Uh-oh.
cup,
What?
your opinion.
Objection.
Does that change your opinion?
Are we talking? Which cup are we? We never established which cup we're talking about.
How many cups have we been talking about, Trooper?
You said that cup. One at the, from the scene. Okay.
That cup. I'm talking.
I just want to make sure that we're on the clear path here. I'm clear what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Really sure.
All I said, it's
found next to John O'Keefe's body in the snow at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022. You got the cup in mind?
yes.
Okay. That's the cup. When I say cup,
Oh
that's
boy,
the cup.
Jackson's pissed.
Okay.
Would it change your opinion if I told you that the glass pieces on the bumper
Uh-oh.
don't match that cup?
Uh-oh.
What's my opinion on it? All I said was glass from a cup. That's the only opinion I have. It's glass from a cup that was on a bumper.
Are you saying a cup?
A cup. A cup. It's not glass from the car. That was my opinion on it.
How can you believe that?
I didn't never
guy?
said it matched to the scene.
You did.
I never said that in my thing. I said it's glass from a cup.
In my thing.
Okay.
All right. All right, we'll move on here. All right.
You're doing testing to determine the forces
Shit.
necessary to shatter a taillight on a 2021 Lexus 570, correct?
I did not do testing.
Okay.
The
Whatever
report
you say,
indicates, we
bro.
talked about this a little bit. I'm going to go back to something we talked about earlier this morning. The report indicates that John O'Keefe came to his final resting place about 7 feet from the roadway, and that's what you based your diagram on,
Uh-oh.
correct?
Yes.
Who told you that number?
I measured it from my diagram.
Uh-oh.
You should say that again.
I measured it from the diagram.
Sound a little bit angry.
Okay, what
there.
I'm asking is how did it get on the diagram? In other words, who
Oh,
told
right.
you that his body was 7 feet from the roadway?
Well, wait, I was told by Lieutenant, was it Gallagher? Paul Gallagher? Captain PT. He told me this is where the
He goes,
body.
do you hear he questions the officer's last name? He goes, oh, well, I was told by, what was it, Lieutenant Gallagher? Like, you should know. You're part of this case, bro. Like, seriously?
Jeez. Yeah,
I
I mean,
gotta go back
that's
and
the
hear
issue.
that.
That's the fundamental issue here is regardless of this man not being an expert on, researching crime scenes, obviously, he just doesn't have like a fundamental understanding of what he was actually, that he could possibly speak to, which is people's names, locations of particular things. It's just he's bad on both counts, is what it is. He's not an expert, but also he doesn't really have a good understanding of the crime scene, as if he only saw the thing once in a quick.
He doesn't have understanding of the case.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like they showed him, told him all about it 10 seconds before he walked up on the stand. It's like he does not seem prepared. He doesn't seem to kind of know it inside and out. Yeah, it just did. Well, I mean, that wasn't a thought process you would have had. This almost makes me think that, what kind of crime scene investigation did he even do?
You knew anything.
Because it's not very thorough. So,
right.
Mark Bederow's in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, Mark, how are you? Mark, I'll drop the link if you want to jump up with us.
Yeah.
We'll drop the link there if you want to click on and jump up. We welcome you on. All right, let's keep going through. I want to hear this again.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what you based your diagram on, correct?
Yes.
Hey, man, thank you so much. $2.
I measured it from my diagram.
Okay, here we go.
You should say that again.
I measured it from the diagram.
Okay, what I'm asking is how did it get on the diagram? In other words, who told you that his body was 7 feet from the roadway?
Well, wait, I was told by Lieutenant, was it Gallagher, Paul Gallagher, Captain PT.
Get Paul Gallagher.
He told me this is where the body was found. So I used my devices to mark that location.
Okay, but before you used your devices, he just pointed someplace on the ground and said he was about here, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher tell you that Lieutenant Gallagher never saw John O'Keefe in place at the scene? Did he say that?
No.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher tell you that the first officer on the scene estimated his body at being approximately 15 to 20 feet from the roadway?
No.
If he had told you that, then it changed your diagram?
Objection.
He told me this is where he was found. I marked that location. That's all that was.
And you marked basically every other piece of item. Sorry, that's a terrible question. Every other item you marked based on a distance from where you were told John O'Keefe's body came to rest, correct?
Yes.
And that was by Lieutenant Gallagher just pointing at the ground and saying it was about here.
Correct.
Was there a single member of the team that was out when you were being shown where the body came to rest? Was there a single member of that team who actually said they saw John O'Keefe's body in place?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
What do you mean team? Canton PD?
Whoever was there. Who was there?
Why is he asking the question?
Doing your
you should know this,
etc.
It's Lieutenant Gallagher. That's who.
Just you and him?
And myself and I was training a trooper at the time. She was there.
You were training a trooper at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so just my mistake. I assumed that there were several people out there. Just you and Lieutenant Gallagher.
Yes, that's why I was confused by the team.
All right. And again, Lieutenant Gallagher didn't tell you that he never saw John O'Keefe's body in place.
No, I don't think so.
You did document in your report that the items that you noted on your diagram that we just looked at a few minutes ago, those were found by the CERT team, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated in your report that the members of the CERT team located a single Nike sneaker that's noted on your report. Is that right?
Correct.
Diagram, right?
Did you see the Glares episode where he found out that the sole of the shoe was different colors? It was one was black, one was white. Yeah.
Yeah. He did a really great job on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You really did a great job on that.
Oh, I have some breaking news, by the way. I'm being memed all over the internet by the opposition right now. They put me in a photo someone called me Jared Fogle, and they're making accusations about my personal life, and I might be a potential criminal. And they have a picture of me and Tommy in a meme together, and I'm holding a Subway sub and a Capri Sun. So I'm posting those all over my page later because some of those are hilarious.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Hey, listen, I say this. If they get mad and they do the things like I have this one that literally starts tweeting back like horribly about me at like 5 a.m. You know what? Yeah. I have done my job.
Yeah,
you know why?
Yeah.
I'm still sleeping for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you're tweeting about me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I've
Right,
definitely done
right.
my job. I've struck a nerve with you. You hate me and you talk about me. That is the first thought on your mind when you get up in the morning is to start tweeting about me. I love it. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's pretty
Caveman,
funny
this
stuff.
kid trained someone. God help us. Thanks for the $2. I appreciate it. It's just good stuff.
area, 2
I
red
have done
plastic
my
pieces
job.
and 1 clear piece of plastic of a taillight was discovered.
Yes.
So your report is clear that in total, the items discovered by the CERT team on January 29th were a shoe, right?
Yes.
A partial glass cup broken, correct?
Well, was that on there? I can't remember if that's on their diagram or if that's what I was told at the scene. But yes,
Sure.
yes,
You knew that a cup was found.
yes,
Or you were told a cup was found.
yes,
And 3 pieces of plastic,
Excuse
2
me.
red, 1 clear.
yes.
Not 5 pieces of plastic, correct?
Correct.
You then measured those items, is that right?
I didn't. What do you mean measure them? Like
Measured
at
them
this?
relative.
I just had to question that, Maz. That little text I sent you. I just started to
Yeah,
question
yeah,
it a little
that's
bit
all
there.
right.
But I did send an email, by the way. So we'll
Okay,
see.
cool.
John
But if
O'Keefe's
you can figure
final
it out.
Place of rest. 10 feet from it, 12
It's
feet
been
from it,
2
you
nights
drove
now.
those numbers.
Yes, I used their report to place those items onto my diagram.
So, and then I'm going to get to that question in just a second. I want to make sure that we walk through it sort of methodically. You then use some calculation, some tool or something to measure distances. Like there's where I assume John O'Keefe's body was. Here's a final rest place. I'm going to use that as point A, and then I'm going to measure from there and go 7 feet to where the shoe was found, or the first red plastic piece was found. Or whatever,
Thank you,
right?
Jody.
Yes,
Who told you where the pieces were found?
they were in Lieutenant Tolley's report. He put measurements in his report.
Okay. And
Thank you, Clarissa.
you noted that the shoe was 9 feet.
Yes,
You put that in
Ah.
the diagram.
correct,
You noted that the glass cup was 1 foot from John O'Keefe's body, correct?
correct.
1 foot is about that long, right?
Yes, it was. They basically said it was.
Mark, is that you?
That's
That's
me.
That's
Hey
him.
guys,
What's going on, Mark?
how are you?
It's good to see you. It's good to hear you.
Boy, you guys are kicking the dead horse tonight, huh? I'm sorry about the Sonny Corleone analogy, but that's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Yeah,
You know
that
what
kind
I'm
of
talking
day.
about? They shoot him 100 times, and then when he's deader than dead, just for good measure, they go up and just kick him in the head.
Oh boy.
That's what it feels like with Trooper Paul, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible.
we got, as you know, we got a little video the other day of the opposition and the alternate theories, and Maz and I kind of compiled this these kind of 2-part special we wanted to do, and just compare and contrast. Let's look at ARCA and let's look at Trooper Paul. The other side, the guy that they roll with. This is the truth teller, and the ARCA guys. Let's just dismiss them because they're just not qualified enough. So.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't
But-
think you'll see this guy at a second trial if there is one. I really don't.
I'm telling you, this is the guy that they threw in a room, and Tully and Proctor and Morrissey probably just, fingers pointing. You are going to be our guy because we did a crash reconstructionist. We know you took a couple of classes, and this is it. And that's what I feel like happened to this guy. I think literally he needs a note on his chest or something that just says "help me," or he's just winking, giving what is that, Morse code for help me.
It's unbelievable. It's actually kind of surprising that they didn't have a real pretrial hearing regarding his credentials, in which he almost certainly would have been excluded. He would have
That's
just been deemed unqualified, even by this judge. I mean, nobody could seriously say that this guy's qualified as an expert.
No,
It's
not
very
a chance.
surprising. They made a big deal about I need to hear from the ARCA experts to make sure they're qualified, but
Yeah.
not this guy. That makes no sense.
Yeah, unreal. Really, really unreal. It's okay what we have our experts, but let's question Arca. I can't believe it that people actually question it. Let me just do this. $2 caveman says, Mark, what do you think Mark, what do you think did he get 100% on his test?
He probably did, but it was probably multiple choice. So, I mean, look, this guy's probably not a terrible guy. I mean, I actually was in court the day before he testified in front of the jury when he was kind of getting grilled a little bit outside the presence of the jury, and it was embarrassing then. And we all looked at each other and said, "This is only going to be worse in front of the jury." I don't. He didn't strike me as one of the bad guys per se, as much as being drafted for the shitty job that he got. Nevertheless, I mean, he went along with it and testified to stuff that he clearly could not possibly have known. He clearly was not qualified. So we shouldn't feel sorry for him for that. But I mean, it was just embarrassing. And can you imagine being a prosecutor and relying on this guy and citing his testimony with a straight face? That takes real talent.
Do you think like Lally just goes home at night after after these days in court and just probably chain smokes a pack of cigarettes? What the F is going on? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, in some sense, you have to have respect for Lally in the sense that he's willing to be the willing zombie, to come back every day with a straight face, go to work, do it, try it, and keep pressing. I mean, in some ways, that's actually impressive. I mean, I don't respect it lawyer to lawyer.
Right.
I mean, he did it every single day with this guy, with other witnesses, with everything else that went on in this trial. And he just continued to come back. It was time to make the donuts, and he made the donuts every single day. But that,
I just think that something had like a grander scale, and Mazza and I were talking about this the other night about Lally, that I just feel like something had to have been promised to him, like a higher position or a pay raise or something, to really put yourself through the brutal nature of all these witnesses and go through this trial knowing that you're just a sinking ship, dude. And then now to come back and have to go through all this again, it's unreal.
I don't know. I mean, but part of the problem is with that office is, you saw these stories and the articles about him, as well as many others, donating money, stuffing, donations in Morrissey's pockets, a guy who runs unopposed. And that's troubling. You don't see that anywhere else except for Brooklyn, New York. You used to see that. You don't really see it anywhere else anymore. Why would he do that? How are they connected? What favors are owed?
Yeah.
What does that say about your loyalty? What are you promised? I don't know. It's the appearance of something that seems just not normal. That's not how DA's offices are supposed to operate, for sure.
Yeah, it's like Shawshank Redemption, when they use the jail the prisoners to do all the road work, and they were passing pies around and stuffing it with money. You know what I mean?
Is this just your way to work in an Andy Dufresne reference?
Yeah. Could be.
By the way, did you know that I've been admitted in Massachusetts for 1 day, pro hoc, and I'm already apparently been decreed the most unethical attorney in Massachusetts. Did you know that?
Unreal. I'm getting hammered all over X right now. Some of the most notable names on the other side have basically made fun of my appearance, said I'm one of the ugliest men on the planet, including one of the women that was there in the blue shirt across the street last week. So they're after me right now. So they're mad about Friday and my nice little speech that I made out there. So they're having a little bit of a meltdown right now. So they're coming in strong with a personal attack. So it's like so many. My favorite one's one of me and Tommy at Subway, though, and I'm holding like a foot-long sub and a Capri Sun. That one's hilarious. I love it.
Oh gosh,
I gotta tell you, I've never seen anything like this.
It's crazy. Yeah,
a lot of contentious litigation over the years. New York is not a nice place, not a nice jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Not a lot of nice people, but I've never seen anything like this, where there is just so much nastiness,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And more than nastiness, misery. There are so many
Oh, yeah.
miserable, angry people, and they
Oh, yeah.
all seem to be lunatics and incels who just have so much interest in a criminal case where they dedicate their lives to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like their own frustrations in their own lives lead to this just bitterness,
Oh yeah.
anger, jealousy, nastiness, keyboard warrioring. And it's I've never seen it. It's crazy. It's so nasty. I've already you know what? In one day since yesterday, I can't actually see that.
Yeah, it's
But
not visible. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I have my first parody Twitter account apparently.
Oh God.
I'm just a lawyer
You've made it. You've made
Yes.
it now.
I mean, no, I
Yes.
feel like, if you can make it there, you can make it
Make it
anywhere.
anywhere. Yeah.
You know, I've represented many unpopular people in the past, and no one's really given a shit one way or the other.
Nuts.
And within a few hours of, an announcement in representing somebody tangentially related to this Karen Reed stuff, all of a sudden there's parodies. You're a scumbag. You're unethical.
My next show that I do, I'm
Uh,
literally gonna spend like a half an hour on these pics posted about me. Someone goes,
your friend Andy Dufresne last night. What did she call me? A loser and a grifter, which,
Yeah.
Whatever. Tell me something I don't know.
she said, oof. She said, oof about me. And then someone went
Oof.
back at her and posted a picture of herself right back at him.
It's insane. All for having the temerity to have a differing opinion about, a criminal case or
Yeah.
representing somebody you hate. But
Yeah.
that's what makes the system work. I mean, I know this Andy Dufresne is, a litigant in her own right. Does she have a lawyer? I mean, is there a lawyer who's willing to represent her vile nature? Somebody must be, right? She must have a lawyer. That's what lawyers do. We represent clients, and some are
Right.
popular, some are not. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't agree. You don't have to, even as a lawyer, necessarily agree with everything that the client does or doesn't
Sure.
do. But
Well, I don't think these people are all bad, because they said here online about me, they said, can we start a give, send, go and buy this incel a mirror? Well, I think that's great because, my bathroom mirror is kind of getting older. And if they could actually start a give, send, go to buy me, like one of those ones that open, you can put all the, the toothbrushes in there and all the deodorants. Like if they could get me, like if they could actually start that give, send, go and buy me a mirror for my bathroom, that would be great, because I probably could use one at this point. So if I take back everything negative I said about it. These people are very kind. They're doing me a favor. This is great.
Let me just get to this really quick. Gringa $2 says, what if any new cards could the Commonwealth play on a retrial? Well, I can certainly tell you this. They're not calling Proctor. They're probably not going to call Trooper Paul. I mean, where else are we at here? I mean, you're going to really go through all this shit again. And we're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about how many drinks people had and who was there. I mean, we're going to have to sit through 10 weeks of that again. I'd love to hear both of your opinion on this, or, do we kind of cut this in half from the Commonwealth and eliminate these, what was like 82 witnesses or something? It's just insane. It's insane.
Well, I don't think they can retry the case unless they get a real expert, which I don't think they can do, which is why I believe they ultimately can't seriously retry the case. They can't call Trooper Paul. He's a clown.
You're not calling Proctor.
I don't know. I mean, they may very well try, although they shouldn't. I'm not even sure they can call Tully and Buchanan as well, to tell you the truth, which is an even bigger problem. But even putting that aside, the ARCA people need to be they need to be challenged. And not only do they need to be challenged, they need to be defeated in the sense, given that they have the burden of proof, they need to conclusively establish to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that there was some kind of impact between John O'Keefe and a car. So you can't even have a battle of the experts to say, well, maybe it was this, and the ARCA guys say maybe it was that. Even if that were to happen, the DA would still lose. So realistically, they need somebody who's going to go above and beyond. The ARCA people say they're way off base, the credentials to do it, and the ability and education to explain it. I don't know how they're going to do that. And short of doing that, I don't know how they can possibly proceed, because the reality is at a second trial, if it were to happen, the defense will have the chance to actually prep the witnesses that they did not have a chance to prep this time. They know what the cross-examination is. This fakakta cross about, what do you know about taillight pieces and this and that. Not that it was impressive the first time around, but, they're going to explain it in more detail the second time around. And I just, I saw your guys' show a little bit for a few minutes the other night. Didn't see the whole thing, but I saw a lot of the testimony that you were playing of some of the ARCA guys. I hadn't seen it since the trial. I saw the one guy, I forget his name, with the cannon.
Dr. Wolf.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I even commented in your comments then watching it saying, I can't believe that anyone with half a brain would find these guys not credible.
Yeah.
Just all disclaimers, except for the, guy in the attic who apparently believed. I saw your video from Mazza, or actually both of you on scene.
Yeah.
I think what he said, correct me if I'm wrong, is they were credentialed in terms of their education and qualifications, but they just were not credible.
That doesn't make any sense.
Which is asinine beyond belief. Those guys could not have been more credible, actually. So, you put it all together, you say, what can they do differently? Get an expert who's going to destroy the ARCA guys, and short of that, they can't win, they can't proceed. They're not going to get an expert because the ARCA people are the top of their game. No scientist is going to challenge that. And to me, this is just an exercise in nothing. She's never getting convicted of anything.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Mark, let me ask you a question. And Mazza and I talked about this last night on the ARCA show. Was that last night or the night before? I can't remember. Was it last night? It was the night before.
Monday
Anyway.
night. Yeah.
Monday night.
Week's gone by quick.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do you think this time around it would help if we do happen to go into trial again? Do you think it would help to give a visual representation from ARCA and show an actual reconstruction so the jury can see that? I felt that was a miss in the last trial. It was something that I was waiting for, and it didn't happen, and I was kind of like slightly disappointed. But do you think that, like I said, a visual or a representation of the experimentation that they did to show the jury could possibly help?
Well, so first thing I would say is that they didn't have the ability to do it because they had no chance to meet with these people and prep them. So I would say that the defense had no opportunity to even do that.
Sure.
As you know, the witnesses were essentially under embargo until the trial. They had no right to meet with them, prep them, do anything other than view their report. Having said that, I think that will not be the case the second time around. I think that protective order would be lifted. They'll be allowed to meet with them, prep them. And certainly if there's a chance to do a visual that is scientifically appropriate and matches the testimony, I would say absolutely they should do it. Assuming it's admissible, assuming it's appropriate. I mean, visuals are always more powerful than words, clearly.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah. So they have the opportunity to do that. And again, I can't in my mind, at this exact moment, envision what that would be. I assume it would not be like a Toyota Prius with somebody facing the wrong direction, lying on the street, like we saw on Court TV. But if they were able to do a real reconstruction based upon what the hypothesis is, which is all they could do, because again, they don't have any firsthand knowledge. So it would all be on theory and explain why it wouldn't be or what would be. They should try to do that, assuming they can.
Yeah. Real quick, Jody's asking a question, Mark, and just get your answer on this. Do you think the Mass State Police is only announcing internal investigations to save face?
I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like these guys are actually in trouble.
Yeah.
Proctor, I think clearly is dead man walking. He's toast. The other guys, I don't know what they're under investigation for, but Mazza, you'll remember this when we were talking to Todd McGee a week or so ago, who certainly understands the state police protocol more than anyone. I asked him this specifically, what he thought about it. Did it just relate to text messages or more? And he didn't know, obviously, but he seemed to believe that, given the way it was announced and the press release about the investigation, that he thought that it was something a little more devious. He seemed to think it was something serious, more than just getting these text messages and not responding. So I don't think it's lip service. I mean, I think these guys they're no good, right? I mean, I think it's obvious.
They're just bad guys. Yeah.
I think they're bad guys. And, I mean, Proctor obviously is clearly corrupt. I don't think anybody would dispute that. Anybody sane and fair to the evidence would dispute that. And I think certainly with Buchanan, the problem with him is, number one, him and Proctor are like Tweedledee and Tweedledoo.
Yeah.
They're together. They do everything together. So he's got to know what's going on. He's on the text message chain. He's involved in this ridiculous concept of recovering taillight pieces. And he's on his own when it comes to this Sallyport video, which is a disaster. So I don't know if that's what his problem is, but don't assume it's just Proctor who may be out of bounds at a retrial. And if Proctor and Buchanan are both out of bounds, if that's the case, then who's testifying about the taillight and the securing of the evidence and that sort of thing? Nobody. So, they're kind of screwed going forward, aren't they?
I'd say. And by the way, I'm gonna have Todd in my studio on Friday.
Great.
It's gonna be really good. And I
Really
really want to dig into, about what he felt, his personal feelings on the investigation and his thoughts there. So that's really great.
I'll surprise you. He's a straight shooter.
Yeah.
He's not going to crap on the state police for the sake of crapping on them, but he also calls a spade. And I think and the listeners will be very surprised to hear what he thinks about how this investigation was handled, which is not a great look for the state police as an agency.
Yeah, I did a review back on, it was either August 2nd or August 3rd when he did his PBS episode with Rhode Island. I reviewed it, and then immediately that night I reached out to him and said, got to have this guy on my show. And just unfortunately, our schedules haven't lined up. And like I said, this Friday we'll have him on. So he's been very nice, very cordial, very open. Just like a great guy to communicate with. And he's like, oh no, I'm looking forward to being there Friday. So,
well, it's funny because lately we've been using a lot of wire jokes and wire analogies and comments. So let me throw one out here. Todd McGee is what they call real police.
Yeah.
Okay. He's real police. You will be very impressed with him, and the listeners will be really impressed. And anyone who's listening now should absolutely put it on their calendar. This is the kind of guy you want to hear from, because he knows how the sausage is made in the state police. He is a straight shooter. He is totally sincere. He's very, very pro police, but which also tells
good
you
police, right?
Yeah. And we talked about this before. Nothing. The people who get most pissed off about bad cops and bad investigations
Good
are
cops.
real police. That's right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna like what you hear from him.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and I have been prepping, so I'm really excited to get him here, though. But yeah, all good stuff. All good stuff. So I don't know. I mean, here we are. We're waiting for Bev's response. She again took it under advisement. How long do you think we wait here, Mark? Is this something that gets dragged out here for the next couple weeks, months? When are we going to have this response? And I'm going to tell you right now, my personal feeling in it when it comes back, it's going to be, well, because of this, because of the law, you had your time. I think we're going to get a standard response like that. What do you think?
Well, time-wise, and this is total speculation. I mean, none of us know. There's no rule on this. I mean, she could literally take as long or as little time as she wants. I would think 3 to 4 weeks. That's just an educated guess, because whatever she does, it's going to be in writing. It's going to be a written opinion. It has to be. It has to be well-sourced with case law or her own thoughts. because it's going to get appealed, and you need to have a decision that the parties can look at, analyze, and tear apart and send to an appellate court. What is she going to do? You know what? I really want to get out of the prediction business. I don't
Sure.
know. The reality is this: the DA's argument that there's no basis to do this because this has never been done. That's kind of a weak argument because the law is constantly evolving. There are changes in the law that occur over time for the better. New precedent is established. And in this particular situation, this is pretty much unprecedented. I mean, there's no real, the cases they're citing, the DA, they're not really on point. Okay. You know, jury slips on the floor, that doesn't do it. Jurors saying we can't reach a verdict or we acquitted on this, but then a judge says, go back and deliberate more. That's not on point because that's not a final deliberation. So the idea that they would say there's no precedent for this, you're talking about double jeopardy and trying
walking the line, definitely
twice. So sometimes there has to be courage and new precedent to honor a constitutional right. And for those who say that's not the way the law is, we shouldn't be doing this. In 1954, there was a famous case, Brown versus the Board of Education, right? Which overturned, what was it? Plessy versus Ferguson, the famous separate but equal. Okay. The law in 1954 was separate but equal, but that was wrong. Okay. That was wrong. And even though the precedent said you could segregate, that was wrong. So what did they do? They overruled that because the law in certain situations evolves over time. And not to compare this to segregation. I mean, that's a totally different thing. But the point is, and I thought Weinberg was really good about this. If you're willing to take jurors back to court, the DA says we don't do that, but you're willing to take them back over, well, could there have been an outside influence? Could there have been, they were exposed to, extrajudicial material, media or something. How do you not take them back about, could they have acquitted? I mean, certainly that's a more serious thing. And it doesn't relate to their deliberations. I thought that was a very disingenuous point that was made by the DA because I think anybody certainly any lawyer would agree, you should not be grilling jurors about why did you reach this decision? Right. That's totally inappropriate. Jurors have every right to stand on their decision and not have to explain it to you about why they reached a decision. But that's not what's being sought here. What's being sought here is, can you clarify if you acquitted? Number one, is that true? And number two, well, why didn't you publish it? Let's hear the answer. And maybe the answer stinks. Maybe the verdict or non-verdict doesn't get, entered. But why wouldn't anyone who has any sense of justice want to at least hear that answer? And I thought the way Weinberg phrased that is exactly the right way that, Maz, I know we talked about over the course of several weeks. Just take the evidence. Let's hear what it is. All these jurors are coming forward saying we definitely acquitted. Clearly, there was no written verdict slip that was turned in. Let's find out why. Maybe there's a good answer. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. Right. But why wouldn't anyone with any sense of justice want to know? And that's what's so disturbing about the Norfolk DA. They tell you with a straight face, we don't want an acquitted woman to stand trial twice, but she wasn't acquitted. But right. All the evidence is actually to the contrary. And again, they're stuck on form over substance. We know all the jurors are saying she was acquitted, but they didn't turn a slip in. So, never mind the man behind the curtain, so to speak. Yeah.
Let me just pause. I'm just going to pause you really quick because Mazza does have a commitment. He's going to get out by 8, but I just want to give Maz the floor really quick just to say bye to everybody. And again, Maz, thanks for jumping on with me again tonight. I appreciate you. Sorry, Mark. I'm done.
I made my point.
Yeah.
No problem. You still have a guest, Brian, so that's good. So Mark Bederow is going to take my place. We're going to go from me and you to the three of us. and then you got Mark Bederow. So you're good. You're in
Right.
great hands. So thank you for having me on. It's a great time, great show. And tomorrow, 4 p.m. in Quincy, we're having that protest for Michael Morrissey tomorrow. So it's going to be at 254 Corey Street in Quincy, Mass. You can park at the soccer field nearby. Someone also said you can park at the nearby Lincoln Hancock School, which is not in session right now. And you might be able to park right there if the parking overflows where you can't get in there. So that's about it. I'm planning probably on going tomorrow, it looks like. We'll see. And other than that, if I don't make it, have a great time, everybody out there. And let's continue to just keep the word out and ignore those trolls on X that have been coming after all of us pretty hard, and especially me. I'm being memed now. I'm actually being memed, and they're actually, it looks like they're going to start a Give a Send Go. So this is great. I might get a new mirror. This is awesome. So it's great. They give me prizes. I have trolls that actually care about me enough to give me prizes, which is awesome.
There you go.
So, all right, guys, have a great night. Take care.
Thanks, Maz.
Take care.
All right. Good stuff.
It's crazy, right? All the people who attack are either angry women or incel men. It's so weird. I mean, it's just so bizarre.
It's a very bizarre thing that we're all, I guess wrapped up in now. And look, it's just, they have nothing better to do. I just say this, Mark, look, if you don't like what we're doing, well, start a channel, give us your points, let's hear from you instead of just attacking in these childish
or tune out
on X.
Or tune out, listen, don't listen, agree, disagree.
Right.
But the obsession and the anger, it's really weird. I've been doing this 26 years now, and I've never seen anything like this. There is just a cottage industry of angry people who will tell you someone is guilty. I don't know why, and it's fascinating to me because 80% of them are women, and is that because it's a female defendant?
Could be, yeah.
Very successful in life, not downtrodden, has resources. And then the other 20%, as I said, are like these, kind of weirdo, awkward incel men. So like nobody normal is coming after this. And why is that?
I don't know. Are we the normal ones? And they're not.
Listen, I call, at least on this case, I mean, obviously the other one I have a vested interest now, but as far as relates to Karen, balls and strikes, whatever. And all I did when I learned about the case was look at it and analyze it. And in my view, it's a terrible case. That's not a attack on anyone. It's not a defense of anyone. I think the case against her stinks.
Yeah.
When I first analyzed it, I thought that there's no question that she would get acquitted. Then I thought, the more I looked at it, that she almost certainly was not guilty. And then when I saw even more, I think she's actually innocent. But that's my opinion. Whatever. Why that somehow translates to, grifter, idiot, scumbag, unethical, loser is beyond me. That's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. I don't really give a shit what you people think. And whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
No, I agree. I always laugh about the whole grifting thing. They'll turn on CNN and Fox News or whatever news station they incline to watch, and they'll listen to Court TV or whatever talk about these cases, and you have hosts that are on those channels getting paid, and they think like we make this like exuberant. Yeah, here you go. They think we make this exuberant amount of money. I mean, a video I might make a few pennies or a few dollars off of. But my point of all of this is it's my passion. I love.
So what?
Yeah.
Why does that make you a grifter? I mean, the irony is, I saw, the other day, this kind of Twitter war, if you will, amongst, some of those people who are spitting at each other. And if I understood it correctly, they were accusing each other of stealing money that had been gifted to them for a free lunch after court. I mean, you want to talk about grifting,
Grifting.
stealing.
There you go.
I mean, my God, they were literally accusing each other of seeking donations for a free lunch after going to court, and then accusing each other of stealing the
Unreal.
lunch money. What I mean, this is insanity.
I can't. I don't know, and I always sell them, like, and they get angry at me. Oh, you're only giving 25% to Karen. Well,
You don't have to give
and I
anything to
listen,
Karen. That's a
listen,
choice.
listen, and I was out there, not even a week and a half ago, and Karen came up to me and she said, "You don't have to do what you're doing." And I said, "But I want to help you, and that's my choice." And she said, "Well, I appreciate it, and
Okay.
and they always have this problem, only 25%. Why don't I'm like, listen,
Why do you? Who are they?
right.
To judge one way or the other, whether you give 0%, 100%, or somewhere in between. Who cares?
And then I tell them, if you don't like what I'm doing, then start a lemonade stand. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't get this whole concept of grifting.
Yeah. Listen, I've been flat out, like, we're on YouTube. I get paid. I mean, this is my second job.
You're allowed to do that, and it's no different
If you
than
don't,
what these other people are doing. But they get upset because people like you get people to watch.
well,
And
I'm entertaining.
well,
I'm
that's right.
People
Well,
like me.
if you have a following because you're entertaining, people like what you're saying, whether they agree or disagree.
Sure.
That's the beauty of like capitalism.
Voice.
If they're jealous because nobody wants to listen to them, or they're trying to run an angle, maybe as a business model, my angle is I'll be provocative and suggest that she must be guilty, and that's fine if that's your opinion. But if 7 people watch, whatever, that it is what it is. That's not a reason to get all angry and nasty and jealous and critical of other people who are doing what they're doing. I don't know why that translates to grifting, or why they all get triggered. How do you have this time to do this? It's very easy, people. It's called time management.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called passion.
It's called time management. I'm able to manage time. I can deal with my work, talk to you, do other things, spend time with my family, and do other things. Don't worry about it. I got it. It's good. I can handle it. It shouldn't trigger you, people. Okay. Don't watch if you're not interested. Okay.
Yeah, and then I always look at like the following, and it's like 11, 10, I'm like, 50 people are following you. It's just sock puppet accounts. That's all this is. It's just sock puppet accounts. So Gringa says, in the retrial, could the defense argue to be able to tell the jury exactly who hired the Arca guys?
Yes and no.
Mark, I got a knock. Hang on 1 second, okay? Be right back. If you want to answer that, I'll be right back. I got a knock at the door. Hang on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would want to tell the jury that the FBI hired these guys, but the DA is going to argue that if they know the FBI was hired and was investigating, that's going to be prejudicial to the prosecution, which is a fair argument. So I think you're going to get stuck at a retrial, in essence, not being able to do that. So I don't think anything's going to change in a retrial about outing the FBI in terms of the investigation, hiring Arca and that. And now I've been left in charge when I just checked in to say, how you guys doing? So now what? Anyway, comments? Somebody's talking about bagels. Okay. This isn't what I do, people. I'm just here. It's Yuri at the door. Okay. Anyway, no, I don't think they're going to get the FBI to be able to be outed in terms of doing anything of this. The dog, one of the dogs is under the table. One of them is in the other room. So I can tell you that. Lola is under the table. Winnie is in the other room. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We basically just said, I don't think they're going to be able to get the FBI out there in a second trial.
It's not going to be allowed.
No, it has nothing to do with the judge being corrupt or anything like that. if a jury knew that the FBI was investigating the prosecutors, that would be terrible. Now, practically speaking, they know because the prospective jurors are all watching everything going on now. So unlike the first trial, the amount of media that they're going to be exposed to, prospective jurors for a second trial, is so much more. I would be stunned if they weren't just aware of it going forward. So that's a win for the defense in that sense.
Michelle says, imagine telling Mark Bederow how to spend his time.
Listen, we all have things to do. I don't mind doing this. I don't get paid for this. I don't
Right.
want to get paid for this. I get paid by clients to do work. As you said, don't worry about my time. If I don't have time, I won't do it. If I can't do it, I can't do it. If I
Right.
can, I can. If that triggers you, well, too bad. Get a life. I don't know what else to say.
So what do you think happens with all this fallout? I mean, we're hearing, like, and I want to go back to Jody's question. You know, she asked, do you think that this is just to save face? I mean, you're hearing things, and we're hearing our governor say, we got to get out there and have police reform, and it looks like there's a couple of bad eggs in our departments. We have to fix it. To me, Mark, I feel like it's just like, again, saving face with the public, but there's no real action. And I keep calling for that on my show. I said, look, the governor gets out there when a new story about this drops. We have corruption. We had the CDL scam. We have now the stuff with Karen Reed, and there's been numerous scandals over the last couple of years here. But it's like talk and no action. What are we to do here? What's going to happen?
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, ultimately, I think if you're the governor, the first question is going to be, do we get rid of the so-called colonel, right? You get rid of the top or not? I think what practically speaking will happen is this cesspool of troopers that live in the Norfolk DA's office have got to be disbanded. I mean, this arrangement that they have, I would assume, is going to be disbanded. And the real question is, will that happen before or after a potential retrial? I don't know. But, they've already gotten rid of Proctor. The other guys, or some of them anyway, could be removed, or God knows what will happen to them. But ultimately, I think this arrangement they have in the Norfolk DA's office will be changed. In terms of the state police as an entity, I don't know. It's a political question. Do they disrupt it prior to a retrial? I don't know. I mean, I guess that's for the politicians.
I mean, you would think like maybe I don't know. The union wouldn't step in, and they're actually there to protect. So,
oh yeah, the union is, look, police unions, and I don't have a problem with this, generally speaking. Police unions are amongst the strongest unions in America. Maybe the only one stronger is the teachers' unions, which are like notoriously
they're crazy.
strong. Yeah, no, they are like, I mean, you know how it is with someone has tenure, you can't do anything.
Oh yeah.
But police unions are very strong too, and they will defend their members as they're supposed to, whatever, to the very end. So they'll drag this out as long as they can, try to get their members paid for as long as they can, and that's what's interesting about Proctor. He's not even getting paid. If he took the Fifth Amendment and didn't testify in this case, he probably could have dragged this out longer. He'd probably still be getting paid, would have done his family some better, and would have given himself some more leverage to deal with the feds. But, Proctor's going to Proctor, I guess, and, make a mess of things. But that's a very strong union, and nothing will happen quickly with these people. But I think Proctor is toast. I mean, that's happening.
He's done. Yeah. Amy in Boston has a question. She said, Mark, what do you think about Brian Albert and possibly Proctor being hired by a PA firm owned by a disgraced Boston police officer?
So everybody knows that story that came out yesterday. Disclaimer, asterisk, whatever. We don't know how true or untrue it is. I mean, we heard a report about it. Let's assume it's true. If this PI agency was actually doing work for the DA's office, which I think was part of that story. And then they hire Brian Albert, who is indisputably a witness in the case. Obviously, he testified. He is, I mean, it's his house. There's a dead body on his lawn.
Right.
He's in this. That's troubling. I mean, from a conflict standpoint, obviously. Then you add the angle of Proctor, and that takes the conflict to a whole nother level for, different reasons. One would assume that Michael Proctor, by a real prosecutor, would be viewed as a pariah, as damaged goods, as, Medusa, don't look at me or I'm going to turn to stone, get out of my life, go away. You're a disgrace. You have pretty much, well, there never really was a case against Karen Reed, but pretty much destroyed the Karen Reed case. God knows what you've done to these other cases that we've all heard about. But then you hear, well, what if, and again, what if, I don't know if this is true, but if the Norfolk DA, after all this, is helping Proctor land on his feet, what I find most troubling about that, beyond the optics, is why would you do that unless you were concerned, I got to keep this guy close and keep him on board. And now you're getting into that whole corruption angle. Am I worried about this guy saying things? He knows things. And this is the kind of thing, if it's true, I don't know if it is, it's a report, but that's the kind of thing that if the feds are watching this whole shit show, this is the kind of thing when you get into official corruption and they get suspicious about things that you would get very concerned about, because the Norfolk DA should be so angry with Proctor. Okay. He's a disgrace and a disaster, and he potentially killed multiple murder cases. And if instead the DA pities him to the point where I'm going to give you a soft landing at an investigative agency where Brian Albert works, for a Boston cop who's very loud about how guilty Karen Reed is and who's done work for us, the conflicts in that situation are suffocating. I mean, smothering to the point of suffocation. And no good reason would exist for Morrissey to do that unless he was concerned, I don't want this guy getting away from me. It's kind of like the whole keep your enemies closer, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. It's my second Godfather reference tonight, but that's kind of what it would feel like, because it makes no sense otherwise. They should be outraged at Proctor. So if any of this is true, it's very disturbing. If it's true.
Yeah. Do you think it's an opportunity now knowing that kind of Proctor's out on the fringe, that, the FBI could stop, have a conversation with him and say, hey, tell us, could you possibly tell us what you know about all of this? Do you think there could be a scenario like that too?
They can do whatever they want. The problem with Proctor is the time for him to have that conversation was before he perjured himself in the trial.
Yes.
So even if he were to cooperate with them now, his leverage is much less. You get less credit for a couple of reasons. One, you just perjured yourself at a murder trial, that you don't get credit.
Yeah.
But also bear something else in mind. Even if hypothetically Proctor were to spill the beans, so to speak, with the U.S. attorney now, a month or two after he just said the exact opposite under oath at a trial, never mind what the feds think. The feds are going to say, how am I using this guy as a witness? Your credibility is so bad, because hypothetically, if we were to use you as a witness in a prosecution against some of these other people, they're going to get lawyers and they're going to destroy Proctor. You just told us at a trial 2 months ago that you didn't know anything. And so and again, I don't know that he would cooperate. I don't know if he has anything to cooperate or any of this. But all I can tell you is, to go back what I said a couple months ago, the guy should have taken the fifth, kept his options open. And if there was a conversation to be had with the feds, the time for him and his own selfish and family interest would have been about 2 months ago, as opposed to now. They'll probably take the meeting now, but his deal is 1,000 times worse than if he had done it 2 months ago.
Yeah, there was an article that came out the other day about the letters of Brady, about 13 or 14 letters of Brady. Could you explain that a little bit? Because I'm a little lost on, again, the legal terms.
Yeah,
So essentially,
I mean, it's standard procedure. It's not surprising. So Brady is the famous 1963 case, Brady versus Maryland.
Mhm.
It's the U.S. Supreme Court. It just stands for, there's a term of art in the law called Brady material that comes from that case. It just stands for the principle that there is a due process concept under the 14th Amendment that the prosecution, if they are aware of any evidence that tends to favor the defendant, there is an affirmative obligation by the prosecution to notify the defense, as opposed to hide the ball and say they have to find it on their own. The theory, again, is part of the whole white hat theory.
Sure.
So there is, under Brady, there is also something called Giglio, which is another case which extended Brady, in which the U.S. Supreme Court in 1972, I believe, Giglio versus the United States, said that Brady also encompasses information that relates to credibility. So if there are key prosecution witnesses of which the prosecution is aware that their witnesses have credibility problems which could favor the defense, they are also obligated to disclose that information to the defense. So in the Karen Reed case, the DA clearly is aware that there is some degree of evidence that Proctor did unethical things, as you know, whether it's the text messages, whether he's alleged to have been corrupt and do this and do that, in which they disclosed to lawyers on other cases in which Proctor is a key witness that they are aware of this, and we're under our Brady obligation, we're notifying you of this, which is going to lead those lawyers to ask more questions, as they should. Primarily, to me, the real thing that's going to be really interesting about the Brady disclosure is none of these lawyers are just going to accept that letter and shrug their shoulders and say, gee, thanks, because they know all this from the news, okay? The real interesting thing is going to be to peel the onion back and dig deeper and say, well, in the case you just watched a couple of months ago or whatever it was, this guy said he sent all these messages because he was, upset and traumatized by this, horrible murder. Okay. And as you know, by murder standards, not to demean what happened to John O'Keefe,
right?
From an emotional standpoint, from a police officer, a grizzled detective, if you will, the John O'Keefe case is not a traumatic case. Every murder or death is bad, but it's what they perceive the hit and run. That's not, by murder cop standards, horrifying. It's not good. It's not horrifying. But his testimony was, I was so upset about this and so traumatized that, I lost control of my emotions and sent these terrible messages. By the way, as I recall, 3 separate groups of people. I was so emotional that I had to send messages to my high school buddies, like right away. I had to send messages to Buchanan, Tully, or not
Superiors,
Tully, whoever. And then also, my sister, who I, talk about, I wish she would kill herself and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that testimony on its face is ridiculous. But what I would do if I'm one of these lawyers is say, let's take it at face value. If he did that, as the commenter is saying, for 8 months, okay, he was so traumatized for 8 months. And what about the other murder case he handled, in which, Brian Walsh is the obvious example. He's alleged to have chopped up his wife and discarded her. I'm thinking that might traumatize you too. Did you send texts about that to the same group of people? This case that was in court today or yesterday with the doctor,
Yeah.
same thing. So they're going to start asking more questions and start demanding things. Lawyers will, I don't want to get into specifics, but you can probably envision a scenario where lawyers on other cases, witness intimidation cases in which these guys are witnesses, would also in the future demand information about witnesses from the state police who would be relevant witnesses in those cases. So that will happen too at some point, I assure you. But this is going to happen again and again. And it really comes down to how important is Proctor and these other guys in these cases. And if they're important, this is a disaster. And it goes right back to your last point, which is, how is the DA's office not appalled by this? Now, maybe they are. I don't know. But if they're helping him land on his feet, it really raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, do you think that's why we hear a lot about in the media when we started to hear about the Proctor suspension and said firing, that, everything that was talked about in his specific case was, we only heard about the text messages. It had nothing to do with, the supposed shoddy, investigation in the Karen Reed case. I find it funny that they just narrowed in on that. You hear it about in the mainstream media too. Oh, it's just Proctor text messages. That's what's, put him in this position, because you look at it and to your point, you start looking, all these other key cases that he was involved in. If there's shoddy police work there, well, that's a big problem.
But I would also suggest to you this: the Proctor text messages are indicative of poor police work, corruption,
conduct,
and other things. So, on the one hand, put aside the horrible, horrible things he said about Karen Reed, her physical appearance, her physical condition, his opinion of her, his opinion of her lawyer. Put all that aside. But he's also having back and forth about intimidating the medical examiner into giving him an opinion that he wants in order to justify a murder indictment. That is bad. And in fact, that's worse from a lawyer's perspective. That actually has more value. That goes to the heart of his investigative integrity and the evidence's integrity. There are text messages where he basically is talking about, you want to give me a gift, well, give it to my wife. That is per se corruption, literally. Okay. That is per se corrupt. I'm offering you a gift for your work. And instead of saying, I can't do that, don't do that, give it to my wife. That is per se corrupt. I'm getting a benefit from someone with an interest in Karen Reed being prosecuted for my personal benefit. That's corrupt. That's the kind of thing that is a deprivation of honest services, and arguably is even some form of federal fraud if they want to dig into this. So the people in the media who say that the messages don't address the investigation, that's not accurate. It totally addresses the investigation. And also, you can't look at this in a vacuum. You look at the messages where he says, oh, don't worry about the homeowner. He's a Boston cop. He's fine. And then you see Proctor. Now combine that with Proctor's testimony where he says, oh, well, he was missing a shoe and he was lying in the middle of the lawn. So it must have been a hit and run. And then he ordered a tow truck before he even saw the car, of which he never photographed and never did this. So you can't look at the messages in that standpoint in a vacuum. It's all part of the tunnel vision, the corruption, the poor police work. But you see that a lot in flyby media. They don't dig into the weeds like guys like you do, and they just, they get the headlights, they get the cliff notes and see what they see. But if you can get past all the horrible, horrible things that he said about Karen Reed personally, and you look at the actual other messages about the medical examiner, about Brian Albert not being involved, and about the gift for his wife, that completely relates to the integrity of the investigation entirely.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that you say that about the gifting. And I completely forgot about that. But I think even in some of the recent, the recent information that came out about the CDL scandal here that we had in Massachusetts, there was a lot of gifting. And I think like that secondhand gifting, those, they were calling them golden handshakes, and a lot of this stuff was going on where CDL licenses were essentially being handed out to people that didn't test for them or didn't deserve them and weren't qualified enough. And there were gifts that were being, given back, or the scenario that you were just kind of describing. My question now too is that, let's just say that all of this does come out, and they do find, obviously, I mean, we know, but Proctor, had this significant impact on this case of, shitty police work and planting evidence. How far does this, how far does this all go back to cases that he was involved with? I mean, does every single case have the potentiality to be questioned now, or is there some kind of law? Or, what happens?
Well, there's no law per se. I mean, I think what you're going to see are these lawyers who demand more information and are going to want to know, are there other text messages in other cases in which whether it relates to the exact case that these lawyers are involved in, or is there any indicia of him taking gifts for investigative favors, favoring people in an investigation, or doing other things. And, look, credibility is always important. That's why it's considered Brady Giglio material. I mean, the credibility of a major police witness is always an issue. And these lawyers are going to be simply saying, if there is bad evidence which clearly discredits Proctor, who's a major witness, we ought to know about that. And the law is going to say, yes, you should. So this is potentially a disaster. To me, the only issue is, how important is Proctor in any of these individual cases? That I have no idea.
Right.
If he's kind of on the fringes of some of these cases, then the DA's attitude is, we're just not going to call him. It doesn't matter. But if he has something like, the Karen Reed case, where he's the guy who, finds evidence that reveals itself and all of that nonsense, well, then that's a problem, potentially, depending on the other factors in the case. So he's a cancer to the prosecution. I mean, and the question is, how far does he metastasize? That's the issue.
Lead detective in the Brian Walsh case. That's pretty scary. I mean, that guy.
I think the word they're using now is case manager.
Oh, case manager. Oh, got it. Let me just get to this. Dr. Jen, thank you so much for your generosity. A $50 super chat says, thanks, Mark and Brian, for unwavering commitment to seeking justice. If this goes to a retrial, I hope that the medical experts can clearly emphasize the cause of John O'Keefe's death wasn't intermediate.
I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but the reality is that's a problem for the DA more than the defense, because they have the burden of proof. And as you know, from the first trial, they couldn't even classify the death a homicide. They couldn't say it definitely or was consistent with this, meaning a car crash, but not consistent with being assaulted. And, if you have, the old, when you were kids, you'd say a tie goes to the runner, when you play sports,
Right.
A tie goes to the defense, because burdens of proof beyond a reasonable doubt are on the prosecutor. And one of the most stunning things at all, and to me, if you want to talk about whether this was a corrupt prosecution or what the hell were these people doing, the fact that they couldn't get their own medical examiner to classify the death a homicide and go beyond that and say it was consistent with a car accident, but not consistent with this, meaning an assault or this or that. I mean, no sane prosecutor is taking that case to trial if they can't even exclude the reasonable doubt based on the injuries that caused the death. Then you add in the ARCA, the butt dials, the other stuff, and you say, why are these people prosecuting? And you start to think these people are corrupt.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can answer any of these questions, but I'd love to ask you anyway, and I won't be offended if you say you can't speak on it. So recently you've come on board on Aiden Turtleboy Carney's team. any developments, or what is going to be your role in his cases going forward?
Well, I mean, there's another lawyer, Tim Bradel, who's very well established, as
Yep.
you know. I'm joining the team, and we'll collaborate, and do whatever's best for the client. I mean, I'm here to help, so I have no demands, or we'll figure that all out. The reality is there is a very skilled lawyer who was in place for more than a year before I was brought in. A lot of things have been happening. I'm just here to help in any way I can, and whatever that role is, that'll all be sorted out. In terms of what's going to happen, it's no secret that part of the problem with that case, and I'm speaking in a general sense, I don't want to
Sure.
get specific.
Yeah, of course.
That prosecution is being brought under statutes that are really troubling. Okay. Like, generally, this is not a specific thing as relates to the client specifically, but those statutes appear to say that anyone who causes anyone, emotional harm as perceived by the alleged victim of the harm, who is either a witness or someone else who possesses information, or could be a witness, or is related to a witness, that could constitute witness tampering, witness intimidation, if a prosecutor says, well, they must be doing that with the intent to obstruct justice or cause them not to testify. And the question becomes, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
If you look at the Massachusetts statute, people like us who just talk about a criminal case on any given day, are we witness tampering when we criticize potential witnesses at a retrial in the Karen Reed case and say, we believe they perjured themselves in the first trial. We believe that they're not credible, and get upset. They see that and they get upset. They get caused emotional harm, whatever the hell that means. And then, are we trying to prevent them from testifying because we believe Karen Reed is innocent and shouldn't be retried? So am I subject to prosecution under the Massachusetts statute? At the way it's written? Yes. Are you? Yes. Are all these other grifters? Yes. But also,
You have free speech.
look, there are lunatics who during the Karen Reed trial were screaming at her. Okay.
Yeah.
As she's walking into court. Now
Yeah.
let's unpack this for a minute.
Isn't that intimidation?
Karen Reed is a potential witness. Now, she
Yeah.
doesn't have to testify, but under the statute, she is a potential witness, okay? Or certainly someone who knows information and could be a witness, and she's being attacked and called a murderess, a dirtbag. She's being accused of all these horrible things. Could that cause her emotional harm? Sure.
Mhm.
What if that influences her willingness to testify? Okay. And you know who I'm talking about. These people they're not bashful. We'll get more into this in legal filings down the line, perhaps.
Mm.
But are those people guilty of witness intimidation under the statute? Absolutely. Now,
Oh.
am I suggesting they should be prosecuted? Not necessarily, but should anyone be prosecuted if you're acting in a journalistic capacity, trying to express your First Amendment rights, either your opinion or First Amendment news gathering, asking questions or sharing your opinion? Is that the kind of thing that, should result in you being prosecuted? You saw it even yesterday, those protesters from Canton who were, protesting in front of the pizza shop. And that's one of the counts in Aiden's case, is yelling at the same pizza place. All those cases were dismissed because a judge found there was no probable cause. Well,
It took me a year.
but if there's no probable cause there, you can fill in the blank.
You're right.
So, there's going to be a lot of discussion about the First Amendment conflicting with the Massachusetts statute and whether it's simply too broad. I mean, if you look at other states' statutes, and from my own bias, I'm obviously more familiar with New York. when you talk about witness intimidation and witness tampering, it's more classic and traditional what you think witness intimidation is, such as, I'm going to break your knees if you testify. Yeah, that's
Right.
witness intimidation.
Yeah.
I will offer you a bribe if you don't testify. Yeah, that's yes. That sort of thing. If you testify, I will tell everyone you did this, that, and the other. Yeah, that's witness intimidation. Is expressing your view that someone is involved in a crime, but who's being is potentially a witness intimidation. And you also have to remember that, some of them are police officers who are claiming they were intimidated, including Michael Proctor is a, named alleged victim in that case.
Yeah. It was like I said, if we're going to talk about witness intimidation, there was one said FBI agent this morning coming at Karen Reed. So, I mean, wouldn't that be witness intimidation? And it's in print. So,
well, you're talking about her piggybacking on, I think I know what you're talking about, the tweet of the individual involved in the case that we're not, I don't want to talk about, and then accusing him of being credibly accused of various sex crimes, and then gratuitously throwing Karen Reed into that conversation, which makes no sense whatsoever. Could that cause Karen Reed emotional harm? Sure, it could. Could that impact her willingness to, oh my God, I don't want to testify because this is what they're going to say about me? It could. Under the Massachusetts statute, is that potentially witness intimidation? It is. It shouldn't be, but it is. And that's the problem. The statute is unconstitutional.
And you're also, throwing, defaming someone and possibly intimidating that person as, your client, as throwing that out there too. So let me just get to this really. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say, you could go back several months ago. Forget this case. When we're all analyzing the trial, okay, you could take a witness like Jennifer McCabe. All right.
Right.
She testified over the course of a couple days. Now, if someone like you and me had a conversation after her first day of testimony and said, she's the worst witness I've ever seen. She has no credibility. She's probably lying. Her demeanor is terrible. I believe she's perjuring herself. I believe if she testifies like this on day 2, that she may very well get charged with perjury. Could that cause her to get upset? Sure, it could. I mean, that's just my opinion as a legal analyst, right? Could that make her upset? It could. What if that makes her say, well, shit, I don't want to testify now? Am I now witness intimidating? Under the Massachusetts statute, you could make the argument that that's the case. The statute is unconstitutional. No one with no serious person would say that a lawyer analyzing that on the internet is intimidating the witness by just saying, this is what I saw, this is what I think. Okay. Now, there are people who are perhaps more provocative than you and me, more aggressive in their opinions, more entertaining in their opinions, but analytically, it's not that different.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let me just get to this really quick. Jury verdict room, thank you for the $25 to join tonight to help out my favorite grifters. Love that with the wink. But how did this not get tossed the day it was clear Proctor lied on the stand and was definitely biased in his investigation? It's a mystery to us too. I mean,
I don't know.
This is what we've been going over for the last, I don't know, 10 months, ever since I jumped on this, 11 months or almost a year ago now. And, I don't know. I just don't know what those jurors didn't see. I mean, it was pretty obvious and clear to me. But you got to think, though, too, a lot of people don't understand that, we had almost a year when we were talking about this, and you only had jurors that jumped in that were only 10 weeks. So they saw a lot of information in a short amount of time. But to sort through that and say, hey, the Commonwealth is correct on this, where an accident wasn't even proven, to put Karen Reed out there on the one charge, I don't get it.
I think that's a fair point, that they only had it for 10 weeks. And also over the course of 10 weeks, they heard everything once. Okay.
Yeah.
People who watch, YouTube shows and whatever could go back and watch and discuss and analyze Some people take notes, they put posts online saying this is happening, but a juror is hearing it once, maybe they take a few notes, their notes that they took, they're not evidence. So they're not, they can't write down anything that happens in the summation because the summations are not evidence, and they may not absorb everything or recall everything. And don't forget that over the course of 10 weeks, some of the information that they were subjected to was so boring, so irrelevant. And is there a risk that it swallows up some of the larger points? It could.
You think that's by design, Mark? Some of it was to draw that out and go, was it raining? Was it snowing? Was it,
I don't know. I just think he's boring and kind of drones on. Look, I don't think the prosecutor's strategy was let me try this murder case over the course of 10 weeks by asking about the weather, because that's going to make everyone forget, the real evidence. I've been very critical of Lally about a lot of things. It's hard for me to believe that he literally was trying to drone on. I think he's just a very boring personality who doesn't have the greatest trial skills in the world. I don't look at it as a strategic thing per se, to
right?
just bore you to death so that you'll forget. Now, people may disagree, but I just think, he's kind of he is what he is. I don't think so.
Yeah. So where do you see this going, Mark? Coming up, obviously we're waiting for Judge Canoni's decision. I'm going to pretty much say that she's going to say no. Do we start going into pretrial hearings? And do we ever get to a trial? Does this stop? And I know I know you don't like the prediction business. You're trying to get out of that. So I'm sorry. I just put you
I
on.
don't know. It's fine. I look, whether it's, well, first of all, I don't know why the DA is putting everybody through the process that's happening now, because if they retry, let's assume they get permission to retry Karen Reed for murder. Just because they're allowed to doesn't mean they should. And if they retry her for murder, then these people are dumber than dumb, because you have to look at it from the standpoint, number one, we all understand the jury acquitted. Now, whether that's a legal thing that's going to result in the dismissal of that count or not by the court, in a practical sense, the jury is telling you, Mr. DA, we acquitted and there's no murder case. It stinks. Okay. So get rid of the murder count, get rid of all those meaningless witnesses. So even if they retry her on any of these counts, I don't know how they're going to do it, because I don't know how they're going to use Proctor, right? I don't know what's going on with Buchanan, and he's really important for a couple of reasons. They're the two guys who have to tell this ridiculous nonsense story about the taillight and vouchering the evidence and securing the evidence and doing all the things that they did. And then Buchanan has the other unfortunate thing for him, which is he's already locked in explaining this ridiculous testimony about the video that we now know was flipped and inverted and all of that. So those guys are going to be problematic witnesses for them, right? Trooper Paul, I think, is out. I just can't, they can't be that dumb to seriously bring him back. And by the way, if I would have to believe that Trooper Paul, who for his own self-dignity would say, I'm not qualified, I'm not doing this again.
I'm not going to do this again.
No.
Right.
You can subpoena me and I'm still not going to do it. And I double dog dare you to hold me in contempt, that kind of thing. So they're not going to have an expert to challenge the ARCA guys. The FBI is still going on. They'll probably release more information. The defense now has all the transcripts and it knows what every prosecution witness is going to say. They have the ability to kind of maybe do some things they didn't do in the first case, change up a little bit. which I think they will. I think there's a few things that can, even though these guys are top shelf lawyers, that when they look at it, they'll say, you know what, maybe we should have done this and do this a little different. Now, juxtapose that against the DA. What are they going to do different? What are they going to do? Are they going to, the joke I made the other night was, are they going to go to the witness factory and buy a witness?
We didn't even get a jury for this now. I mean,
I don't
it's
know how
still
you're gonna
worldwide.
Which is also part of the problem. If they think they're going to retry her for murder, even if they're allowed to, every prospective juror in January, if that's really when this trial happens, who says, okay, we're here for this case and it's a murder case, they're all going to look at each other and say, she was acquitted of murder. What's wrong with these people? We know that. We watched everything. What's wrong with these prosecutors? So I just logistically don't see how they're going to do it. And now, look, we've called them zombie prosecutors in the past because they just keep coming. They're going to want to try her for everything, but I don't see logically or logistically how they're going to do it.
It's crazy.
I don't. So I don't think there's going to be a retrial. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's just
they're going to want to do it. I just don't see how they can literally do it.
Yeah, it's and going back to the jury and finding a jury. I mean, there's literally not one person in the state of Massachusetts right now that doesn't know about Karen Reed.
No.
I mean, it is the biggest topic of conversation. I mean,
Right.
I hear it just in the general public when I'm out on the street or in the post office or wherever I'm a supermarket. I mean, there's someone talking about it in some capacity.
But it's worse than that, because if you said to prospective jurors, at the supermarket or whoever,
Sure.
okay, have you heard of that case? Yes. What do you know about it? And what they're going to say is this:
Corruption.
this is the case of the woman who's accused of running down her cop boyfriend, and I heard she got framed. Like, that's part of the narrative. Okay. In other words, if you heard of this case in Massachusetts, I agree with you. 100% of the people have heard, are close to it. Not 100, but 90% of the people
Right.
have heard. And if you said to those 90%, what have you heard about that case?
Framed.
More than half of those people are going to tell you, I heard she got framed.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
that's part of their pre-trial bias. And, you've heard these kind of, well, maybe somebody should move for a different venue. Why would the defense do that? There's no reason to. The public favors her.
Right.
They do. I mean, some of these trolls and other people are loud, but they're pretty small in number. They're just very loud and obnoxious, but they're not a high percentage of the population, as far as I can tell. So I don't think the defense is going to move to get this out of Norfolk County. They have a very good jury pool there. It's just, it sucks that they have to go there from California, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if they move it anywhere in and around Massachusetts, it doesn't matter. People are, to our point, is they've heard about this. I mean, everybody across the world now has heard about this.
Yep.
And I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening.
I don't think there's going to be a retrial, but that's not because the DA is going to do the right thing. They're going to want to retry her. I just don't think, when push comes to shove, there's going to be the ability to do so. I mean,
so go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say they did it this time by holding their nose and saying, we know what the ARCA guys are going to say. Who cares? We know what Proctor is going to say. Who cares? But now you add in the fact the trial ended in July. Okay. It's August. What has happened since August? Okay. 3 of the critical state troopers are in deep shit. Okay. Already. Okay. A Canton police officer named Albert, by the way, basically had his gun and badge taken away because he's a dope who gets drunk and can't keep his. This has been an unmitigated disaster just since the first case ended. We haven't heard more from the feds. You haven't heard more of this other stuff. It's only going to get worse. So if it was
and then you had jurors that came forward, add that to the conversation too.
You have, absolutely. But, as bad as it was the first time around, it didn't really get out that these cops were under investigation or in trouble. Now they are. So it's just awful for the prosecution going forward. It's that much worse already, and it's only going to get worse. There's nothing they can do to make this case better unless they find an expert who obliterates the ARCA people, which will never happen.
Yeah. Let's just do this. Worst case scenario. Karen Reed goes back to she goes to a retrial. She's convicted. This goes to appeal. Do the appellate court say, no, this is bullshit and throws this thing out?
Well, they don't generally overturn jury verdicts. I mean,
wow.
Jurors are the fact finders. So appellate courts are going to be very loath to literally say you're an idiot and you made the wrong decision on the facts. What appellate courts do is overrule on the law. And so you have to wait and see. You'd have to wait and see what happens at a second trial and whether there are any legal decisions. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I think this is an exercise in very unlikely to be the case, because the idea that 12 people are going to find her guilty of any
happen.
It's just not going to happen. That's right. It's just not going to happen.
It will never happen. And I feel strongly too, and I've said this on my show 1,000 times. The Commonwealth knows that they're never going to find a jury. To our point, is going to convict Karen Reed. So let's just keep her, dragging her back in. Now we'll just financially bankrupt her. That's essentially what in my opinion, they're trying to do now, is just really bury this down until we get to a point where we cannot push forward anymore, and we've made her exhaust all her resources and money, and essentially just bury her name and then walk away from this thing at some point.
I guess, but there's so much public support and
I know.
so many people donating and doing whatever that it's hard for me to believe that, as astronomical as her legal fees, I mean, doing this for a living, I mean, I don't know what her situation is. I could guess. I'm not going to on this.
I've heard a number.
Well, I have not, but I can guess, and it's probably in the six figures. Okay, at this point, for a lot of reasons. But on the other hand, the donations appear to be steady, frequent, constant. So many people are outraged and apparently donating. And the idea that, that would stop and she would, go bankrupt and, lose the ability to defend herself or whatever. It's just, no way.
Yeah.
No way. By the way, what these lawyers of this caliber, okay, and also of this level of investment and this level of character, okay? And again, don't listen to the trolls who tell you that, Alan Jackson and David Yannetti are bad guys. They're not. These are good guys, okay? They're dedicated. It's not about money. I mean, obviously they're making a living, but these are, I know guys like these guys, work with guys like these guys. This is how we all are. They're invested, okay? There's no chance they're walking away over, you're a little late in payment, or what are we going to do? They're going to see this through. They're going to get her through this. They're going to win. And then all the other stuff, assuming there is any financial stuff, would take care of itself after. There is no chance that lawyers of this caliber, of that character, would ever just walk away. They're going to see this through no matter what. And if the DA thinks we're just going to slow roll this and bankrupt her and, break up her legal team, there's no chance that's going to happen. No chance.
Yeah, David Yannetti is all right in my book. He took down 2 child predators and murderers back in the early 90s. Jeffrey Curley was a case here in Boston, Massachusetts. Charles Janes and Salvatore Sakari, and he was the prosecutor in that case. And that's a great that he took down those predators, and they will never see the light of day ever again. So
no. I mean, look, not all, but most successful defense attorneys, we all started as prosecutors. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Alan Jackson.
Same with Alan Jackson. Everybody knows he prosecuted Phil Spector. And, the race car guy who was killed in his driveway. I forget his name. whatever. I forget. But the point is,
Mickey Thompson.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that was a big case, not a few years ago. These guys are like high-end guys, but these are character guys. Okay.
They care.
That's exactly the
Yeah,
point.
they
They
care.
fully believe in what they're doing. Okay. They're not getting paid to say this is what we think happened. They believe it. They're invested in it. They're defending someone that they believe is innocent. That's not always the case. I mean,
Sure.
you still represent people, but you can see it by watching it. They believe what they're doing. They're invested in it. They care, and they're going to see it through, and they're going to win.
Yeah, they're not. Listen, I don't see that. This whole like when this all ended. Oh, is Alan Jackson going to come back? Is David Yannick? Yes,
That was ridiculous.
They're
That-
gonna come back.
Honestly, I
They
don't know
wanna
why
win.
anybody would ever think for a minute that somebody, and again, you have to know how we do this for a living and the way you're wired. The idea that Alan Jackson would get a hung jury on a case like this with everything he put in it and say, all right, see you later. I'm
Yeah.
out of here. That was never going to happen. Okay.
No.
Never. The only way that he would ever not be a part of a second trial is if the client said, I don't want you
Want you?
to be a part of the second trial, which of course would never happen either, because that would be crazy because he's outstanding.
The best.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and she knows that, and
Yeah.
her family knows that, and her advisors know that. So that the idea that he was ever going to walk away, never, no chance.
Yeah. All good stuff, Mark. Listen, I appreciate you. I'm going on like 3 hours. I'm going to shut this one down for tonight. But I appreciate you impromptu jumping on here with me and Mazza and staying on the last hour here. And it's been a little while since we've connected, and I'd love to, do another one of these soon if we could. And listen, we'll see what happens. What do you think? Real quick before I go, when do we start? I guess seeing more pre-trial hearings. Does this start coming up soon? And we go through this entire, it's just so crazy. We're literally going to go through this entire, and I say we because we've been through it all, but we're literally going to go through this entire process again. How soon does this all start happening? Is it happen after the next decision that Judge, Bev gives, or do they start putting things on the calendar here soon?
Well, she's going to issue her ruling. Potentially, either side could appeal. If she were to rule for the defense, it would be suicide for the DA to appeal. I mean, that the optics of that would be terrible. But assuming that process were to go on, that would take several months. But also, in terms of pretrial hearings, a lot of them are done. You don't relitigate a lot of stuff that's already been decided pretrial. So when you're doing a retrial, it is a more streamlined process. There's still stuff they have to hash out and deal with, which will happen over the next several months. But it wouldn't be the same level of, pretrial craziness that you saw, before the first trial. And again, are they going to retry? I mean, at some point, you have to decide.
I can say this, we were out at one of the standouts, probably now 2 weeks ago. Karen Reed did some rounds and touch base in some of those standouts, and she was just positive, smiling, seemed very calm, in good standing, and was just really supportive and happy that people are out there. And I just have to say this. I mean, amongst all the controversy that this woman has gone through, this, individual, this person, she hasn't cracked once. And that is such an amazing spirit. And I think, I think I have to say this, the day that I got to spend in court and meet Karen for the first time and her legal team, Alan Jackson said, had a little bit of a speech. I was with Will the Glarer. And, Alan pulled us aside and said, hey, look, I have to say this to all of you and all of the supporters out there. If you guys weren't doing what you were doing, and that crowd, those crowds and the supporters that form outside the courtroom and the reporting of Turtle Boy, this would be a completely different trial. And I think he meant that, more in a supportive way for Karen. She might have broken down by now with everything that's gone through, but it's just incredible to watch her, has not flinched once through this entire thing, and in such a amazing spirit to
Yeah,
watch.
no, I agree with you. I mean, psychologically, if you're being accused of murder and doing something terrible, particularly murder of your boyfriend that you've never had a chance to even, mourn or analyze or grieve or whatever, because immediately you're accused of doing this terrible thing that your position is you didn't do, to have the amount of support publicly out there, that is emboldening, obviously, and that also for the lawyers too. It's not just
Yeah.
for the client. I mean, as a lawyer, I mean, trials are a grind. They are. And don't forget, for these lawyers, it's a road game, right? I mean, they're living 3,000 miles from
Yeah.
home, whatever it is. And it can be a slog. It's 10 weeks away from your family, all that, you're working 15 hours a day or
Living
whatever,
out of a hotel.
living in a hotel, a nice hotel.
Yeah, of course.
But the point is, but you show up every day and you see that, and that just recharges the battery.
Yeah.
It's just, it gets you going. It gets the client going. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So what he said is entirely true, but
Yeah.
also for the lawyers, not just her, to get
Yeah.
them fully, jacked up to do justice, as they say.
Yeah, and even now you still even hear it. Dave and Yannetti the other day after the pretrial hearing, he said, "I've just, I can't believe it. I've never seen anything like this." And it's like, what do you say? It's like when the Patriots get announced at the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
insane.
crazy. It
Yeah.
is, and look, the other thing is this: it is what it is, and maybe this is what pisses off a lot of the trolls or not. If you looked at it in isolation, you'd say, woman charged with murder of a police officer. Normally, you would say the hatred for that defendant is going to be off the charts. I mean, you're going to just get crucified
Yeah.
in the media, everywhere. And in this situation, and there were some critics, obviously, but to have that level of support when you're charged for murder of a police officer is unheard of, which also probably is a sign that, man, this is a bad case, because nobody favors someone who killed a cop, obviously. And especially a guy like John O'Keefe, who by all accounts was, a good, decent,
Yeah.
popular guy. And, of course, just because you think she's innocent, this is the biggest problem with the trolls, bar none. They can't grasp the concept that people who think Karen Reed is innocent is somehow disrespectful to John O'Keefe, when if she's not guilty, then justice for John O'Keefe does not include convicting someone who's not guilty of killing him. You in order to get justice for him, you have to get the right person.
Right.
And people can agree or disagree whether she is, but why they assume that anybody who supports her innocence is disrespecting John O'Keefe, that makes no sense at all. They're not being intellectually honest about what's going on. I mean, I don't think that's a complicated principle. I mean, people agree or disagree, but the bottom line is many people think she's not guilty. That doesn't mean they're shitting on John O'Keefe. They think
Right.
she's not responsible for his death. That's all.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Real quick, last one before we head out here. Scott's saying, Brian, ask about the mass SJC appeals.
Well, somebody's going to take it there if they don't like the decision they get from Canoni. I mean, clearly, if the defense loses, they're going to attempt to have this hashed out. If the prosecution loses, they probably will too, because they have the worst judgment. Like, they never have any self-awareness. And the reality is, if the judge were to dismiss these counts, she's doing them a favor, really. They won't see it that way, but if she's telling them you're not charging murder, you're really doing them a favor. And they probably will try to appeal and drag this out and look terrible. But yeah, I mean, the appellate process will take a few months for sure, at least, even if it's accelerated, which it would be.
Well, Mark, thank you so much, like I said, for jumping on and doing this impromptu. I have to say that through this entire experience for me, I've been blessed to meet some really great people, and you are one of them. And I do appreciate it. I've got to meet you outside the courthouse and shake your hand, and that was an honor. And hopefully someday we'll get to do that again. I'm
Well, I guess I'm going to be out there a lot more than
yeah. So
back then in the next.
yeah, we'll have to all go out and grab dinner sometime and chat. I'd love to do that. And again, I've met so many amazing people, all the people that have come to this platform and watched the lives. I really appreciate that. The people that continue to support Turtle Boy and Karen Reed, you're all amazing. The subscribers, the members, the people that contribute, and those people that just grind outside the courtroom and stand in the heat and the cold. It just does not affect you, and you're real rock stars and champions. And all the panel guests that I've had on this show and all the wonderful people that I've gotten to meet. It's been such a blessing and an opportunity. And to let everybody know, I will have Todd McGee on my show on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you all can join us, and maybe we'll have Mark back here soon. We'll have another one of these conversations.
All right. Take care. Good
All
seeing
right,
you.
Mark, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right,
Take care.
everybody, we're going to hit the outro. Have a good
Okay.
night and take care. Bye-bye. I was just going to say really quick, I love this idea. Mark can come to the studio. That would be great. Mark, if you're still watching, when you come out here, I'd love for you to come in to the studio, and the invitation is there. So anyway, now I'm going to hit the outro. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see everybody back on Friday at 5 p.m. I hope you all can make it in the studio, and I'd love to hear his perspective on all of this. So again, now I'm going to really go. Have a good night. Bye-bye.